Oh, you know what I love?
Sports.
I love sports.
Sports. When
It comes to Texas A&M.
Where are you getting this information?
Let me tell you.
Welcome to TexAgs.
TexAgs Live.
I feel like I should be listening to the theme song from the Jeffersons. You know, we're moving on up.
We will develop men, we will graduate players, and we will win championships on the field.
The best way for us to win is to do it together.
He is a guy that has gotten better and better and better. He's just got that dog in him.
It's been special. The 12th man this past week was unbelievable.
And this is a real program. It's not fake. This is a real place. And if you want to be really good at football, this is a really good place to be.
You know, if I'm betting on anybody, it's the Aggies. Well, Olin, a lot has happened since I last saw you on TV and radio. I saw you last night. Yeah, a lot of good stuff has happened. So I think we got to play some catch-up for me on what happened. But I also want to say, you know, I think we are the reason we're good buddies, it's not just because we do this show, but I think we're very aligned with many things, many topics. I won't get into some of those topics here on the show, but I will say one of the things that we are certainly on the same page on is our love of being a father.
Yes.
Last night I got to see you with Quinn. I saw what you posted the other day, and I think you and I are in the same world when it comes to that. You know, I love being a dad. You love being a dad.
As all fathers should.
Yeah. And I got to spend some time with my sons over the weekend. We went to Alabama for a college soccer showcase. They had a great weekend. And those are the memories that, 20 years from now, even 2 years from now, that the boys will be talking about. So I just wanted to start off the show that way because I saw you with Quinn yesterday at our TexAgs Christmas party. And I just love seeing y'all's relationship.
Well, it's a good relationship. You know, of course, he didn't come till I was 42 years old. Mm-hmm. So, for the most part, fatherhood's for younger men. Yeah. Because when you're 50 and your kid wants to play one-on-one, you got to go get out
do
there.
It, though.
But, yes, greatest thing that's ever happened to me. I know it's the greatest thing that's ever happened to you. Everybody who's a father should just feel blessed and really just embrace that whole role because it's amazing.
It is an amazing role. We had such a good time. A long drive we went to Orange Beach. In Alabama, had a blast, just talking, laughing, because, I only got them at home for another year and a half till they go away to college. So, but that's a long way of me getting to last night, our TexAgs Christmas party, which was we had a different theme this year. It was fun. Murder mystery.
It was a good time. There was, it was at the Hush and Whisper.
Yeah.
My first time there.
Cool place.
Very nice. Very nice. I'd recommend it if you like whiskey.
Yeah. Even if you don't like whiskey, if you just like a cool place.
Yeah, it was really, because I don't drink whiskey and I enjoyed it. So,
you know the story about that place, right? It's been a year since I've told you, but that's the building where I started my radio career.
That's right.
In Bryan College Station, the Verisco building, where Power 94, the only station that gives a jam. That's where I started the whole career.
That's right. And it's fun just hanging out with, some of the people. Broniger made sure that he was heard.
Yes. Bronny is really good at a social setting. Like I
thought you say calling attention to himself.
No, that can be part of it too. Like I can be socially awkward at times, and I can be part of the fun, right? Not the way others have fun, but a Nuño way of having fun. Bronny can have a good time anywhere.
Bronny's the lampshade on the head guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he's fun. He's a fun guy. Yeah, he and Zane also.
Yeah, Zane is great. Lucci had a good time. It was great to see Hunter Goodwin, all the owners.
Yeah,
it was a fun event. And I don't know. Are we allowed to say who killed Santa?
Yeah.
His name says it.
Andrew Kilzer.
Yeah. It was a good time. Murder mystery. Highly recommend going to Hush and Whisper. And thank you to all of you who make this possible for us to have TexAgs.com and this radio show, this TV show. All right, so where do we start from the weekend of what I missed? Because we can do basketball, we can do transfer, we can do whatever.
I think you always have to start on what is happening now that we're seeing the results. We're excited about the transfer portal because of what may happen.
Right.
But we know what happened up in Indianapolis, and that was amazing.
Well, look, I don't want to say that I had my doubts about this year's basketball team, and not that I didn't think they were going to be a really good team, but I had my doubts based on what history said about this team getting started. Okay?
Right.
And even saw a glimpse of that the first game of the year.
Game.
Right?
Yeah.
And saw a little bit more against Oregon, but that's basketball. Those games happen.
They
right?
do.
Those happen. But what this team has done so far, and there's a lot, and the hardest part of their schedule is the SEC schedule, right? That's going to be a grind.
Yes, because you can look at the SEC results.
Yes.
Against other conferences, and they're dominant. So yes, you're right. It's going to be a grind.
But I look at this team and I'm like, they're doing this year what I thought they would be doing last year. And this year I didn't have as much optimism based on how non-conference started last year. I know that's kind of a convoluted way of getting to my point, but they're beating really good teams in hostile environments. And sometimes, yes, they struggle to put some points, right? They go through these stretches. But that defense is so electric, and they know their style of basketball so well. That's why veteran teams become so dangerous, OB.
Yeah, they really are good on the defensive end. If they're not just keeping one team from being able to shoot a high percentage like Wake Forest, I think it was, then they play Texas Tech. And I think Texas Tech actually shot a pretty good percentage, but you forced a ton of turnovers in that game. And then what they did against Purdue defensively, I think Purdue was just stunned at the quickness and the style of defense and how physical and tenacious, the tenacity of that defense, I think, caught Purdue by surprise.
Yeah, and it's not just that they started that way. It was all game long. There are teams that can do that for a little bit of stretches. They just kept on going and going and going.
And that Purdue, and we talked about this with Nick yesterday. What was, I think, just the most impressive part of that win is that Purdue played well.
Yeah.
Purdue played pretty well. Now, they didn't shoot the way they usually shoot.
But they can hit some threes.
But that was because of what A&M was doing. But Purdue played well. You couldn't look at the Purdue game and say, you know what, they had one of those clunker games that happened. No. They just got outplayed by a more physical, a more tenacious, a more quicker team that, oh, by the way, just happened to shoot better than they frequently do.
Yeah. It's fun to watch this team, and if you are one of those that kind of waits to get on the basketball train, right? Because I think some people wait. This is a great way to make you feel better about football season.
I think if they're waiting, I think they'll stop waiting about January 4th or January 5th.
Yeah. Texas game coming up at Reed Arena on January the 4th. So
2 before that, though.
Yep. So we got to finish out the non-conference on a high note. Fun to watch this team, and if I were a basketball coach, depending on what kind of resources you get for basketball, right? If you're at Kentucky, you're going to get your 5 stars, right? But if I were at a normal place, the way Buzz builds his team is the way I would try to build my team. And he goes for guys that buy into a system and go all out. And that I can get down with all day, because I think those teams, now, they need to have success this year in the postseason. More success than they've had so far, right? But if you are at and I hate saying this, A&M's got all the resources they want in the world, but when it comes to basketball, it's a little bit behind.
It is. You can look at Reed Arena, not a bad place, but definitely it's a no-frills flight.
Yeah. People aren't coming to A&M, and I'm sorry to say it, I don't think they're coming to A&M for NIL. Doesn't mean NIL is not a part of the equation. I think people come to A&M to play for A&M, to play for Buzz Williams. Yeah,
I think A&M, when it comes to basketball, NIL, and I have no idea how much the budget for NIL, but I would be skeptical that it matches most of the other teams in the SEC. I think Buzz Williams is playing at a disadvantage, and yet, give the guy credit. He, like you said, he has put it together a team that plays his way, completely bought in, and gives full effort, and maybe even overachieves to a certain degree. But what about Pharrell Payne the other day?
He was
Pharrell's for real.
Pharrell Payne.
For reals. He was a for real Payne going out there. 16 points. They've been looking for that, somebody inside to give him something.
And Zurich Phelps as well.
Phelps? Yeah, but we've seen Phelps.
No, I guess my point is, and we'll talk about it.
And he's coming around, though.
He's come around. the transfers, kind of leading the way in that game.
Yeah.
They were great. And then, Wade Taylor doesn't have. How often would you expect? I know when he had those flashy games, they sometimes didn't win. But you would expect him to score 18 to 22 points for them to win these games against a team of Purdue's ilk. He had 15.
15. He's scoring when he needs to. And I would not be surprised if we see an SEC play, we start seeing more out of.
Yeah.
But I think, and we talked about this yesterday, I think he's kind of, the old coach on the floor type of thing. And he is, and Buzz has talked about his high basketball IQ of Wade, that Wade has taken it upon himself here in the non-conference to try to bring that team together.
Right.
Now, I'm not going to try to carry them. I'm going to try, like I had to do a lot last year. I am going to try to bring this team together, get everybody involved, and even take a back seat at certain times. But I think when they get to conference plays, you say, okay.
Now,
I'm not saying he's going to go out and look at the score 30 points like he did like 6 or 7 times last year. But I just think he'll have take on more of the offensive role.
Well, how about this? How many minutes of the game did he miss? Was it the last 3 or 4 minutes? 3 minutes?
Well, I think it was the last minute and a half.
Minute and a half, okay. And it was a close game. There was no panic on A&M, and his body language on the sidelines around the court was like somebody who wasn't injured, right? Yeah. Like it was more like, all right, I got banged up a little bit. These guys will close it out.
His body language is certainly better than mine at that point. Because I'm going, oh my gosh, because in the last minute and a half, and you're protecting I guess at that time, about a 5 or 6 point lead, and your first priority then is get the ball to Wade, because if they foul him, it's a layup with him at the free throw.
And they were fouling Manny, and Manny's a good free throw shooter.
Made 5 of 6.
But he's not Wade Taylor.
Well, yeah, he's not Wade.
Right, and he was nails.
He made 5 of 6, and then Solomon Washington hit a big one that gave him a 4-point lead. That they knew, that pretty much iced it. So I think they made 6 of 8 free throws in the last 27 seconds.
And what was it against Tech? 8 of 8 to close out.
Yeah.
So I think last time I checked, that's good math.
Yeah, we'll take that.
We'll take that all day. The other bit of news that happened over the weekend is they got a couple of 5-star, the football team got a couple of 5-star players. One in Humphrey that I think has played at a high level, and one at Micah Hudson that we believe will play at a high level. He only had 8 receptions at Tech. Freshman, that's part of the growing pains. And I think these guys, you can't expect to get these kind of guys at every position, but at positions, I don't know if cornerback is a position of need per se. Okay. But you've strengthened that room, and wide receiver, absolutely a position of need.
Without a doubt, and hopefully they'll add another receiver.
Yep.
At least one more.
I'd like 2 more.
Take them all. And I think cornerback was a position of need, maybe not dire need.
Yes.
But definitely one.
You wanted to get better there.
If nothing else, you can put them at safety if you had, in a pinch, like they did back in the day with DeShays or Everett. But you can't have too many good players. And here's a guy that was a 5-star. We're talking about Julian Humphrey, 5-star coming out of high school, goes to Georgia, started 10 games this year. Now, you can say whatever you want about whether he lost his starting job. Look, he started at Georgia for 10 games. Kirby Smart picked him out. And I saw it on Twitter that, or X, what do they call it now? The Georgia fans doing the whole sour grape thing. Oh, they're showing him getting beat by Ryan Williams at the end.
Okay.
Yeah, Ryan Williams beat a lot of guys.
Yeah, he did. Look, you can when you have guys that can pass 5 stars on your roster, which Georgia does. It doesn't hurt my feelings that we get the guy that was passed up at the end of the year when he started for a couple seasons there at Georgia, right? So that doesn't hurt my feelings at all. Is he going to strengthen this cornerback room that I thought played pretty well this year?
Yeah, and now look, Will Lee, can he make the
impact that Will Lee had?
The same impact.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yep.
So let's hope he does.
Pair him up, does Ricks, Will Lee. It's a good room.
Yeah, and hopefully we got to find out today. Maybe we'll find out, but hopefully Tariq Chappelle will be coming back and playing that nickel spot, and maybe do some upgrades at safety and get that secondary back where it should be.
And if you get, I'm just going to throw out some numbers for you. I don't know. Again, this Colin Klein offense is different than what Jimbo had here. But if you get similar numbers to what Evan Stewart had his first couple years, it's good. Like I'm saying, for a guy that only has 8 receptions, we'll gladly take 40, 50 catches from a guy at 600 yards. Gladly.
Yeah, I don't worry too much about what you do as a freshman because things change so much. Mike Evans didn't even play as a freshman. I can go down a lot of guys, and then there were some injuries involved. I guarantee you this. I can't say I guarantee you. I bet that if you ask the coaches and everything at Texas Tech, hey, he only had 8 catches. Are you glad he's leaving? They're going to, give him some truth. So hell no, I want to keep this guy because he has tremendous potential. Now, what A&M needs and needs to be next year is turn that potential into production. But he also has speed, and that's what A&M direly needs at receiver.
And I look at it like this. It's kind of like the Evan Stewart situation when he went to Oregon. Were Aggies upset that he left? No, they weren't. It wasn't a good fit.
Would have rather had him.
Exactly. Would you rather have him? Yes. Were we upset? Like, look, it didn't feel like a good fit ever. It kind of felt like, but did you expect him to do pretty well at Oregon? Yes. So Micah Hudson, I put in that same category. Maybe it wasn't a good fit at Texas Tech. Hopefully it's a great fit here. And do we see the talent? Yes. Does he have people who can help him become a higher level of wide receiver? I think so.
I'm getting really excited about what's happening at the receiver position because Noah Thomas is coming back, and I think Noah Thomas is a valuable piece. I just don't think he's a number 1.
Yeah.
But, man,
he has his days that he can be number 1-ish.
But not consistently. Right. Gosh, what can he be as a consistent number 2? Now, Micah Hudson could be a number 1. And then you got Terry Bussey that has all kinds of potential. He's just learning to play receiver.
Right.
And then you added a 5-star receiver in this year's class.
Right.
Jerome Miles.
Miles, yeah.
And then there's what's his name? Keldrick Johnson, who's a 4-star receiver.
So you got some guys.
Kelshawn Johnson.
Kelshawn, thank you. Kelshawn. And, there's still work. They may be adding some more guys. I like what little bit we saw from Bethel Roman.
Yep.
So maybe they're going to add a couple more in the transfer portal, and all of a sudden a position of, that was okay.
Right.
Could just do a complete transformation next year.
18 minutes into the show. I haven't told people what show they're listening to or watching. That's probably a disservice to them. I'm sorry, you probably have no idea. It's not QVC. It is TexAgs Live. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We're in the Rollo Insurance Studio. It is the Go Hour.
Go Hour.
Presented by?
The Go Hour is the warehouse at CC Creation.
Yeah, sometimes I forget. I just have to ask you.
I just want to make sure I'm getting it all right.
Yeah. And this particular area is
called... This is the Cool Zone.
The Holistic Planning...
The Holistic Planning Cool Zone.
Investment Tax.
And estate.
And one more.
Oh, well, then you can... it goes on with the investment. They'll hook you up with a pro sports franchise if you want to invest in that. I want to be the owner of the Cowboys.
Yep. Investinprosports.com. Typically, we would go around the room and say hi to the people, but it's already time for a break, so we'll do that in the next segment. If you want to be a part of the conversation, you can do it multiple ways. You can text us 979-693-1150, or you can call us up on the Boss Firearms hotline, 979-693-1150. Right now, we're talking about our friends at Prize Picks, prizepicks.com/TexAgs. Use the code TexAgs to play Prize Picks. Right now, look, it's very easy. 2 to 6 player stat projections. You pick more than or less than, and watch the winnings roll, and you get those $50 once you play in $5 lineups. It's a great way to enjoy sports. I know you enjoy them anyway, but for both of us, it's not as fun to watch the playoffs without A&M, but we're going to watch, and let's maybe watch it and enjoy it with a little bit more.
Put a little action on it.
Action, yeah.
Give you something to root for.
And they've got right now a Jokic free pick. So if the NBA, all the sports, right? You jump into Prize Picks board and find a Nikolai Jokic 0.5 points projection. So you just do more than if you think he's going to score more than a bucket, and you're going to watch one of your squares roll. 5 and 6 power plays. If you haven't tried that, you should. You can craft up a power play up to 6 players projections involved live on the board now. And, of course, Picksmas. All you have to do is go to prizepicks.com/TexAgs. Use the code TexAgs. Get those $50. Once you play in $5 lineups, it is Prize Picks.
What's up, TexAgs? This commercial break is brought to you by my good friends over at Aggieland Chevrolet, the official automotive sponsor of TexAgs.com and me, Billy Lucci. Greg Gunn is the proud owner of Aggieland Chevrolet and invites you to visit the dealership to experience true Aggie hospitality. From their friendly staff to the experienced service team, Aggieland Chevrolet is TexAgs approved. Check out the dealership off of Highway 6 in Bryan or go to AggielandChevrolet.com and tell them Billy Lucci sent you by.
As a reminder, the final segment of the show is brought to you by Double Dave's. That's at 10:50, but right now, caller number 12, 979-693-1150. We're going to hook you up with your choice of a dozen pepperoni rolls or a large one-topping pizza from Double Dave's, serving Aggieland since 1984. They have your favorite pizza. They have your favorite world-famous pepperoni rolls. Reliable in-house delivery, bringing piping hot goodness straight to your door. Just click on doubledaves.com, and your favorites are on their way.
Which one would you take?
Probably the pizza rolls.
Okay. Garner? Which one?
Pizza rolls.
For sure.
Yeah.
Ob?
I think, you know what? I think I'd go with the pizza.
Okay. You win either way.
I like yeah, you do. I like the pizza rolls, but here's the deal. I want, do this for me, Double A. I want the marinara warm. I want it.
You want it hot?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, something that happens sometimes with pizza rolls, though, there's a part that you don't expect it to be so hot when it goes into your mouth and it burns.
Yeah.
But it's a good burn.
Yeah.
It's a quality burn.
Quality burn.
TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. The Go Hour, presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations. He's Olin Buchanan. I'm David Nuño. Today is Tuesday, December the 17th?
17th.
2024.
Yes, sir.
A week from today?
A week from today's Christmas Eve.
A week from tomorrow?
A week from tomorrow is Christmas Day.
And what we'll be doing, about learning?
Be hopping a plane to Las Vegas.
We're going to party so hard there.
Hey,
it's going to be ridiculous.
I might even stay up after midnight.
I have to because I think my flight arrives at like 10:30.
I'll be waiting on you, dude.
It's going to be fun. All right, let's say hi to the people. I feel weird. It's 8:26. I haven't said hi to anybody. Nick Savage is behind the glass. He's our director. He's our good friend. Nick, good morning, buddy.
Howdy, good morning, y'all. It's all right. I don't really have much to say today. You know, I got it all out yesterday, sitting in the host chair. But happy you're back, David. It was good. I guess it was good. I don't know.
It was good.
That's for everyone else
to job.
Say. But
I even told him. I said that all that experience you're getting doing rudder and Navasota is paying off.
Yeah, Nick is great. You got to give me something this morning, Nick. Give me something.
Well, I do have something.
Okay.
I kind of brought it up to OB yesterday. We kind of went through the bowl games this week. These are the most notable ones. Obviously, you got the 4 playoff games. You got Florida, the lone SEC team playing. That's on Friday. And tonight there's the first, I guess, kind of, Power 4, P4 bowl game going on in the Frisco Bowl. So just, I guess, your initial thoughts on maybe some of the bowl games and maybe early playoff thoughts.
I'm sorry for not knowing this, but has West Virginia hired their coach yet? Do we know?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you know, Nick? We should look into that.
I think yes.
They did.
Rich Rodriguez.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. I knew that. The return of Rich Rod.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Of course.
I'm interested. So you mentioned to me, and we'll have a segment later on in the show about what some people are saying about next year's Heisman votes, but you mentioned to me that there was one poll that you saw that had a particular quarterback from the state of Texas, right?
No, I haven't even seen it.
Oh, okay.
I saw someone had put out like a list, and I didn't even look at it. I said,
yeah.
I'm betting who they put number 1 on their list.
Well, I saw a list earlier, and one of the names on that list was DJ Lagway.
Yeah, I can see it.
I can't see it because I looked at Florida's schedule, and it looks exactly like it does this year, just reversed.
Mm-hmm.
Now, and they won 7 games this year?
Yeah.
That's pretty good for the...
Especially considering what we thought and where it looked like they were going.
And, Mertz gets hurt, and he was looking okay. They played really well down the stretch, so I don't think...
Might have beaten Georgia had Lagway not
gotten hurt.
Got the hamstring pull.
And might have given Texas a bigger run for their money.
Well, they certainly would have made it more interesting.
Yeah, so
the Yale kid just wasn't very good.
So I saw Lagway's name listed on there. We'll talk about some of these other ones later. But I'm very interested in seeing what DJ Lagway does. I like him.
I like him, except when they come to Kyle Field this year.
Yeah, and I hope that they're horrible that day.
I do too.
I hope it's such a blowout.
Of course.
All right. And show me the list again of games, if you don't mind, Nick. I'd like to see what other ones that you had up on there. I know you had the West Virginia, Memphis game. That's I guess some of the playoff games. Indiana, Notre Dame.
I'm going to watch that.
I am too.
I
think I saw that's the biggest ticket right now in the first round of college football playoff games.
Really? Well, I guess anytime Notre Dame's involved.
Yeah.
And Indiana's being the story. Look, it's been a Cinderella season, if you want to call it, for Indiana. And they get into the playoff, and what do you know? The first team they play is Notre Dame. Not only is it the most, I'm not saying the best program.
Throw the records out, folks.
But probably the most storied program in college football. So it'd be like playing the Yankees if you got to the to the World Series for the first time. So and it's in state. It's an in-state.
200 miles separates those two.
I didn't know there's 200 miles in Indiana.
I didn't either. Bragging rights, my friend.
Bragging rights.
It's all, there's people who went to Indiana, and there's people that went to Notre Dame. They all go to school together.
That's school. If we do this on Friday, I'm going to take Indiana in the points.
Yeah. Okay.
That's nothing to sneeze at. I say that because I'm about to sneeze.
You can sneeze. Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Callie Gardner, good morning.
Good morning. How's it going?
That's all right. How are you?
I'm great.
What's going on in your world?
Nothing much.
Did you have fun last night?
I did.
Yeah.
We had a good time.
It was a good time.
Yeah, it was fun. I enjoyed seeing everyone's acting. They really got into character, especially OB.
Okay. Who was the most over-the-top actor? I'm going to let you answer.
Allie Russell.
I'm going to see. I think OB has a different answer. Who's the most over-the-top actor?
Ryan Brown.
Oh, okay.
I knew it.
Yeah, that's fair. Allie was doing the whole putting water on her face, though, to like fake.
Oh,
cry.
I didn't see that.
Yeah.
Where we were seated, we could barely hear some of the stuff, so I didn't get to see that.
Well, you definitely probably heard her.
I did hear her, and I definitely heard Bronny.
Yeah. It was fun, though. We had a good time. Anyways.
I thought Lucci was the most authentic.
Yes.
Lucci was himself.
He could have been having that same conversation in a couple of hours outside. Yeah, absolutely.
In a couple of hours. Well, I think his role
When he
fit in the
shows
best,
up.
probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was very detailed, though. I mean, like the whole website.
They did a great job.
It was fun.
Wonderful.
Stu Wade, Miranda, thank you guys.
Yeah.
All right, give us something.
It was awesome. Also, last night, the Aggie women's basketball team defeated Texas Southern 85-60, which was led by a huge performance from Lauren Ware. She registered her career best 7 blocks, tying for the 3rd most in a game in Texas A&M history, as well as her 2nd double-double of the season and 14th of her career. Soleil Williams also set a new season high of 17 points and 3 steals, and the Lady Aggies moved to 6-5 on the year to face Mississippi Valley State on Thursday at 1 at Reed Arena, and they will wrap up their non-conference slate.
Mississippi Valley State. Most famous player from there?
Jerry Rice.
Jerry Rice.
Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Do you know who Jerry Rice is?
I've heard of him.
He's awesome. I would say the best football player that I watched.
Here's a trivia question. What was the nickname given to Jerry Rice's quarterback at Mississippi Valley State?
Nah, I couldn't even come close to that.
Satellite. Willie Satellite Totten.
Really?
Yeah. Willie Totten.
All right. I know you know the answer. Who was Jerry Rice's running mate, the other wide receiver 2 during those Super Bowl runs?
Oh, John Taylor.
There we go, my guy.
Yeah, he caught the game-winning touchdown pass in that one Super Bowl against the Bengals.
That's right. Absolutely right.
David Sandhop still probably hadn't gotten over it.
Who?
Our former coworker, David Sandhop, big Bengals fan.
Yeah, that's right. Boomer Esiason.
Yeah.
Was that 89?
Yeah.
All right, let's go one more, Callie.
The Texas A&M soccer team added former Cal Baptist assistant Tim Schrader to the staff that they announced yesterday, and he began working at Cal Baptist in 2018. So he's been there for quite a while, but he is the new assistant coach under G. Guerreri. So excited to see what he does for the lady soccer team.
Filling the role for Phil Stevenson, who was with that program for, 20 plus years.
Very long time.
And Phil went into retirement. We wish him well and excited about the new addition to Coach G's staff. All right, we'll hit a break. We'll do our performances of the week. We will just chit-chat, OB. Let's just chit-chat.
We'll chit-chat.
We're good chatters, right?
Yeah, I can chit-chat.
Yeah, you can. Last conversation, this is a hard question.
Okay.
What do you think the last conversation you had at 1775 was?
Oh, my. The last conversation?
Yeah, like when you were there, what was the big talking point?
Probably how good the barbecue was.
Oh, I was expecting
how good
that.
this was. Did you taste that? Oh, what'd you think of the mac and cheese? But yeah, I'm telling you that those pork ribs are amazing. That was kind of the conversation I had.
And I think that's the last conversation I had there. In fact, the last conversation I had there was this. David, you weren't lying on you were telling I don't lie about the barbecue at 1775.
There's no reason to lie, because in this case, the truth does not hurt.
In fact, the truth doesn't hurt. Sometimes I don't even think I give enough value to the truth. You need to experience it to really know what we're talking about.
I tell you, it's so good you may not be able to handle it. You can't handle the truth. But the truth is, it's great barbecue at 1775.
What movie is that from?
You can't handle the truth?
No.
Oh, sorry.
You'll see more than a few good men at the at
I feel like we've talked about this before.
No, I don't think we've done this one.
Really?
Did you like that one?
He just told you I heard it. No. He just told you the name of the movie.
A Few Good Men?
There you go.
I wasn't saying that was my answer. I was clarifying that the quote that you said was what you were asking.
And you'll go there and you'll want more.
It's a few good barbecue joints. There are a few good barbecue joints in Brazos Valley, but our favorite is 1775. 1775txbbq.com.
It's your assignment.
Obi, tell the folks what fraternity you and I would start.
So we're both talking about, because my son's in a fraternity, that if we had I didn't go to college, David did, and we're the guys that would have gotten left out, so we would have had to start our own, like, Lambda from Revenge of the Nerds.
And no chance that Callie knew that.
Callie had no idea.
I know Nick knew. Lambda. No?
No. I figure he was Rush chairman for Lambda.
Wow. Just Google it. You'll see a picture of yourself in there. Just Google it, all right? Seriously. I want you to Google it. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. In the Rollo Insurance Studio, the Go Hour, presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations. Opie, let's do Performance of the Week. We usually do it a little bit earlier in the show, but we had a good time getting to here. Is there anybody in particular you want to start off with? Or, it doesn't have to be a person. It could be a thing.
Yeah, I think I mentioned him earlier, Pharrell Payne.
Yeah.
Come in with 16 points. I think he had 9 rebounds, if I'm not mistaken. And look, Wade was huge in that game. So was Zurich Phelps. Hayden Hefner had a couple of big threes that were key. Everybody played well, but Pharrell Payne gave you something that you hadn't been getting. Look at that, 6 of 6 from the field goal attempts, 16 points from an inside guy that you hadn't been getting a lot of that, post guy. 9 rebounds, I think it was. I think he had a block shot or two, and just it's good to see somebody new emerge as a scoring threat in a big game like that.
Is he the? I want to see how I phrase this, because I don't want to disrespect others, but is he maybe the most impactful front court player we've seen here in the last few years? Because Julius Marble was very impactful, but he's more of a 4. He is a legit 5.
I think he can be. I mean, he showed us what he can do. Yeah. I think potentially, and I think we kind of overrate what Julius Marble was. I mean, I wasn't saying he was really a fine player, but
he left a hole last year for sure.
Yeah, yes. I would say this, potentially, especially if he keeps playing close to that level, Pharrell Payne will be A&M, and I think a lot of people have said this, will be potentially A&M's best post presence since Josh Nebo.
High praise. Very high praise. I actually looked at it a little bit differently, OB, with the Performance of the Week.
Yeah, sure.
Same concept, but I combined the transfers.
Okay.
32 points there you've got from Zurich Phelps and Pharrell Payne. In a game that mattered so much against such a quality opponent, it was the new additions that led you offensively.
Yeah, I got one more.
Okay.
But it's not one person. It's kind of like you, except I watched the whole volleyball game.
I'm glad you did this one.
And I was engrossed in that volleyball game. And I found myself yelling things when I don't even really understand the game, and was into it and was so impressed with and I didn't even know that the 5th set only went to 15 points. So I was raising hell and getting upset, and someone said, it only goes to 15 points. But that's how much I was into it.
Well, I think when you listen to our Texas Aggies United interviews with those players, and you see Jamie Morrison, who will be here in studio today at 9:20, and you get to know their personalities, it makes it so easy to root for them. And then you watch the product on the court. They're just good, man. He's building something real special.
Nick pointed out yesterday that every player on the roster, that's how excited I am. My voice cracked. Every player on the roster, I sound like Jim Mora. Playoffs roster.
Or David Nuño on Tuesdays.
That everybody is back or could be back.
Or could be back, yeah.
And Logan Lednicki.
She's great. And
I know who she is.
Yeah.
That's how great she is.
So, yeah, they're absolutely on the list. I'm going to do one more.
Okay.
Women's basketball. There's a lot you could pick from, because I think 6 players were in double figures. Am I right about that? I just picked the highest scorer, Soleil Williams, 17 points, 3 assists, 85-60 win over Texas Southern. They are now over 500. We'll have Joni Taylor on the show later. Somebody led them in, was it rebounds or blocks? It was quite a big number that you read in their opening.
Where?
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Where?
Yeah, Where had a lot. She broke a lot of her own records last night. And And there were a few others that had.
But 6 players in double
history.
figures. And
Yeah, she was a dog in that game.
she was a dog.
Actually, a wolf. A werewolf.
Yeah.
All that to set up a really bad wah, wah, wah.
Hey, and I'm going to throw one more.
Okay.
I'm going to say across the street, you got 2 5-stars over the weekend. If that's not a
You
performance,
got 2 Micahs.
You got 2 Micahs on your team, yeah. You've added some players. I know people want all the players now. It doesn't work that way.
The kid, what was the tight end's name? Micah. I can't even think of his last name now. From Auburn.
Yep.
And there was a negative reaction to that, and I'm thinking, thank you, Mike Riley. There was a negative reaction to that, and yet I'm thinking, if he's a good blocker, don't you remember what happened when you were on 4th and 1 against Texas?
Yes, 100%.
So don't discount a guy as a tight end just because he doesn't have a ton of catches if he's an effective blocker.
Well, again, did you like the additions they added last year? This staff?
For the most part, I did. I did.
Would you say Nick Scorton was a big addition?
He was a big addition.
Was Will Lee a big addition?
Huge addition.
Cassius Howell?
Cassius Howell was a big addition.
Des Ricks?
Good addition.
All right.
Yeah.
Do those guys play a lot of football for you this year?
Didn't even mention Armaj Reed Adams.
Armaj Reed Adams, thank you.
Or Eric May, or PJ
Coley.
Mays, or Coley, or why do I do this? The receiver from Troy.
Jabri Barber.
Jabri Barber.
Right. So, and
Scooby.
Even Cyrus
Speaking of
Allen,
dogs.
Scooby, thank you very much. Even Cyrus Allen, who's gone on to
Allen.
Cincinnati, apparently. I think he committed to Tulane initially, and then it became Cincinnati overnight.
Oh.
But regardless, he was this team, they did a really nice job adding players.
They did.
I think that they will continue to do a nice job adding players.
I think they're on the way. Now let's get another receiver and maybe a defensive lineman or 2. What if they were able to get a big-time tackle?
I like the way that you think, buddy. Yeah. I'm kind of like you. Look, yes, I want some standout wide receivers, right? I want talent.
Well, I think you got that, though.
You did get one. I'd like to get more.
2.
But you know what really turns me on, and I mean that in a football sense?
Okay.
Offensive and defensive linemen on your roster.
Yes.
Let me make sure I phrase that correctly. Right?
Yeah,
I want them. What piques my football interest is adding to the trenches.
I'm with you. I love to watch inside. I've said it before. I've never seen a good offensive team without a good offensive line.
Yes.
And you show me a good defensive line, and I'll show you a good defense.
If the offensive line, this is a big if. Okay. All right. Because it looks like they're going to return some dudes, right?
Yeah.
Okay. If this offensive line improves at the rate that they improved from the last year of Jimbo to now, what kind of offensive line are we going to have?
A dominant one.
Why did I get so loud?
Because you're turned on by that.
See?
Great offensive lines are sexy, though. They're sexy. I said it.
Can we clip that? I mean, every once in a while, just clip these. These are great.
What was it? Look, every time A&M has had a great offensive line, they've had a big year. I'm talking about 2020.
Yeah, 2012.
And 2012, well, even 2013.
2013.
And then you go back to the Steve McKinney years. I guarantee you they had a heck of an offensive line when they won the Big 12 championship.
1998, absolutely.
And back in all those R.C. Slocum years.
Yeah. Give me a great offensive line.
Or give me death. Well, maybe not.
No, I still want to live, regardless. Okay? But give me a great offensive line, and I feel that as time goes on, Mike's going to have the right guys for his defensive line. That's going to catch up. Because I think this year there was moments that defensive line was great, kind of fizzled a little bit towards the end. I think he'll figure that part out.
I think so. And I think they're getting the offensive line thing figured out too. But hey, if you can get a big name tackle, just keep adding. You can't have too many offensive linemen.
If your business or organization is looking for an opportunity to engage with Aggies, you need to check out the Association of Former Students. They play a part in Aggie stories, and you want to be a part of all these great events like Aggie Ring Day, All Aggie Hullabaloo Gathering. They welcome tens of thousands of guests when they go. There are many sponsorship and vendor opportunities available to get your brand in front of those attendees, and they offer a wide variety of both digital and in-person options to promote your brand. These options include title sponsorship, naming, on-site presence, activation, and recognition in social media posts. There's also advertising opportunities in both the Texas Aggie Magazine and the Aggie News newsletter, which are seen by over 230,000 people. So if your business is ready to engage with Aggies, choose a partner that's been with the organization supporting the Aggie Network for over 140 years. For more information on options available through the association, please email sponsorships@aggienetwork.com. OB, I want you to tell the people your idea.
A TexAgs movie night.
Would you guys go if we did that? Like, if we did, like, rent out a theater. What's the name of the theater in downtown Bryan?
The Queen Theater.
The Queen.
Yeah, like, and we just did a movie.
I was
and, like,
thinking, like, you just invite them to TexAgs.
Or we could do it here.
we could just project it right there on that big old screen.
TexAgs movie night.
Where we commentate during the movie? I don't know. If
we could do that.
Yeah, it's like watch along for games, but with movies.
We could shout out the lines with them.
OB's just going to read the movie.
Here's the
script.
truth. The only person that enjoys hearing reciting of lines of a movie is the person who does it. Like, have you ever been to a movie and like guy's telling you what's about to happen and he says it out loud? Like, just shut up, bro.
I think it'd be part of the TexAgs
in this
movie
environment,
experience.
it'd be fun.
Yeah.
But if you go to a theater and homeboy's doing it to the left of you,
no,
I'm not playing that game.
So would you come to the TexAgs movie night?
Yeah,
TexAgs fans.
I'll get to Miranda right now. We'll sponsor it.
I wonder what movie we would start off with.
It wouldn't be Revenge of the Nerds.
Yeah, because we have to. Yeah, there.
Scarface.
No, I don't like Scarface. But you could probably do every line.
I definitely can.
And you can do it in the right accent.
I don't know.
In fact, you kind of remind me of Tony Montana.
There's a little bit.
Say hello to my little friend.
You know what a hassa is, Frank? I'm not going to do it. It's a pig that doesn't fly straight. All right, let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Galita, please tell me there's a football text or a commentary. I know there's a Revenge of the Nerds thing going on YouTube, right?
Yes, there are a few chats there. We got what Luke considered as an insult.
I think it's a compliment, to be honest with you.
They said that Luke would be Lamar from Revenge of the Nerds.
I can see that.
Yeah, they look alike a little bit.
Well, yeah.
Act alike. Yeah.
And they said Luke would make a good Lewis.
Lewis.
But then they said Nuño has the look down.
When I put these glasses on, I go straight nerdy. Here, hold on. Here we go.
Yeah.
Does it make me look smarter? No.
Yeah, it made me studious, yeah. Broniger would be ogre.
That's what they said.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
They said Bronny is ogre. And Lucci is booger.
You know, Lucci would not be booger. We'd have to find a different booger.
He ain't playing that game.
You know, you're kind of Betty.
I don't know.
Yeah, there's a blonde girl that Lewis likes.
Would you be John Goodman?
After that performance I just gave?
Yeah, at the break, he recited like half the movie.
Your father said someday you'll be a man, and look at you now. You just got your butt kicked by a bunch of nerds. I saw the movie more than once.
Give me one text about football before we hit a break here, please.
Yes.
There's got to be
Goodman
something.
was a football coach in the movie.
Well, that's a good point.
We have a text from David in Temple, and he says, I also love what the staff is building in the wide receiver room, but anticipating next year's production, remembering the importance of familiarity.
Yeah.
Yep, 100% agree. OB, it's good to be back, buddy.
It's fun. I'm glad you're back.
Thank you, sir. When we come back on TexAgs Live, Justin Lanham, I'm going to talk a little basketball with us. After that, Jamie Morrison in studio. After that, Joni Taylor. After that, Trey Wallace. After that, Charean Williams. That and more is TexAgs Live. And we are back on TexAgs Live. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We are in the Rollo Insurance Studio. It is hour number 2 of the program. We're going to talk some basketball with Justin Lanham on the Boss Firearms Hotline. Justin, good morning, buddy.
Morning, David. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm actually doing quite well considering the basketball team's performance recently. Not just one game, several games in this non-conference that they have. This is what I said at the top of the show. Tell me if you can see where I'm coming from. I was a little more worried this year than I was last year because of what we saw last year in the non-conference. Not that they were bad in the non-conference, but they in this year, it's kind of been the reverse of that the veteran presence that they are has really gone to these tough places to play and shown up in the biggest way.
Yeah, I think you could say like maybe got exposed a little bit in conference play last year. Maybe some of their weaknesses, stood out during that time. And so I think that's definitely probably where that concern comes from coming into this year, right? I would say, though, this last 4 or 5 game stretch, whatever it's been, I mean, that's definitely given me some confidence in this team and their capabilities. Look, we know that they're not the greatest 3-point shooting team, but they are doing just enough, right? And I think some of that is because their defense is playing so well. I mean, I know we'll probably get into it the last game, but just what they have done defensively has been really spectacular.
Well, I do want to follow that up with this because there are still these stretches. And by the way, this happens to all basketball teams. All basketball teams have these stretches where they're not getting offense. But I feel like when it happens to the Aggies, it becomes contagious and it lasts a lot longer than maybe some of the other teams. Yet, I almost feel like no panic when that happens this year with this team. And that they're just going to figure out what defensive play next is going to give them another opportunity to attack the rim.
Yeah, absolutely. And defensively, guys have stepped up in different moments. You see Payne coming over for a big block, or Solomon or Anderson. You're getting Wade, this last game, he comes over and takes a charge. Guys have just really stepped up defensively, and that's what's been impressive. I think something that helps our defensive effort that probably we obviously talk about this being a strong point for the Aggies, but you probably don't think of it this way, is that it helps our defense is because we offensive rebound so well. It doesn't allow teams to get in transition as fast because they've got to commit 5 guys to the glass, because if they don't get a rebound, we're just going to keep coming at them. So I think that really helps our transition defenses because we're putting so much pressure on the offensive glass. They don't have guys to get out and run. They've got to commit those 5 guys to the glass.
Talking to Justin Lanham on the Boss Firearms Hotline. Appreciate everybody listening in. All right, let's talk about this defense intensity, though, because it's one thing to do it for stretches in a game, kind of like the offensive stretches we were talking about. But they have that same level of intensity no matter which 5 is out there, and it's all game long, and it becomes overwhelming. Look, I don't know if this team's going to be able to get to the Final Four, Elite 8, but with that kind of defense, you're going to have a fighter's chance in every game.
Yeah, 100%. I think the thing that helps that of kind of what you're talking about is the depth. I mean, we're able to send 5 guys, at you, and then whenever someone gets tired, somebody else is coming into the game to kind of relieve that guy and continue that pressure. I don't know, something that stuck out to me that I really love. I don't know if you've seen this, but have you ever watched Andy check into the game? I mean, that dude literally sprints from the end of the bench all the way to the table. And I mean, that just right there epitomizes who he is. And I think it's awesome to see as a coach, especially because that guy's eager to play. When his name's called, he's ready to go. And I think you could really say that about any of the guys. I mean, there's guys that from game to game, they get different minutes. I think Manny is one of those guys, especially that, you don't really know how many minutes he's going to get from game to game. But whenever he comes in, and his name is called, I think he's usually ready to go. So I think that you could say that about just about anybody on that team.
Well, it goes to and we actually talked about this in the first segment as well, like it goes to the type of guys that Buzz goes out and recruits. When you come to A&M, you're probably, as a basketball player, you're probably not getting the Lambo, right? You're probably not getting these amazing NIL deals, although I know NIL helps, right? I think you come to A&M for different reasons to play basketball. You come to be a part of this culture. You come to be part of what Buzz is building. I think the kind of guys that he attracts need this kind of basketball.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Buzz even talked about this, like the difference between Henry Coleman and Payne. I think yesterday he talked about that, about how Henry Coleman is not even the player that Payne is as far as athletically, right? And so you're just getting different types of players than you're getting at the North Carolinas and Dukes and Kentuckys and stuff like that. And so you've got to get those guys that are willing to do the dirty work, that are willing to dive on the floor. I mean, the play on Saturday when you have two guys, diving on the floor. I know the ball's already out of bounds, and so it was kind of, almost kind of playing around. But you got two guys diving on the floor for balls, rolling out of bounds. And so I think that that's just the type of guys, and we know that that's just the type of guys that Buzz recruits.
Talking to Justin Lanham here on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers and the Rollo Insurance Studio. All right, so transfers made a big dent in this game this past week, and they led the way scoring, right? You got 32 points from Pharrell Payne and Zurich Phelps. But beyond that, like when you look at this team, we think of it as Wade Taylor's team. Who could have the biggest impact moving forward?
Yeah, I think it's got to be Payne. I mean, what he did this last game and how much he impacted the game on both sides of the floor, I think it's got to be him. Obviously, I think a lot of people would say Phelps is also that guy. But for me, just seeing what Payne was able to do was impressive. He commanded so much attention in the post area, and that freed up some easier shots from the outside. Look, if we're already not a very good, shooting team from outside, and so the fact that Payne can possibly have a presence inside and guys have to put attention towards him, and we can get some better open looks from outside, I mean, that's just going to help us tremendously. When we have contested threes from outside, we're probably not going to be very good. But when we have, open standstill threes, I think that that's going to help. And so we were able to feed him inside. He was able to fan the ball to the outside. And I think that helped. And then defensively, too, just how much presence he takes up inside around the basket, forcing guys when guys drive the lane. I mean, you got a big guy like that inside that can affect shots. I think that's big time. So I also thought defensively, something that I was worried about that I really felt like Payne and Henry did a really good job of was Braden Smith. I was really worried about him coming off ball screens in this Purdue game. And I felt like Payne and Henry, both of them, were able to step up and kind of help off of that ball screen, where some of these other teams that I had seen and watched some film of, they were playing some drop coverage, and Braden Smith was able to come off and get easy shots. And against Purdue, they weren't able to do that. So props to Payne, props to Coleman, but also props to that coaching staff and the plan that they put together for them.
Is it possible, like in Buzz's time here at A&M, that Pharrell Payne could be the most legitimate post presence he's had? Like, and I don't take that as a shot at Henry, right? Because I look at Henry as a different type of post player, where he can beat you with a little speed around you. He's got that beautiful hook that works. But I look at Payne as like a legit five on this. Like, he might be potentially the most gifted five that they've had, right?
Yeah, I think so. And I think kind of what you're talking about, and just kind of elaborate on that, is like Henry can play that mid-range area a little bit and take you off the dribble, where you want Payne inside with his back to the basket or sitting in that, dunker spot kind of in the short corner. I don't know if you saw in the first part of the game against Purdue, we got to drive into the lane and Payne's on the backside in the dunker spot, and we just toss it up to him and he gets an easy dunk. And so I think that's probably kind of what you're talking about, is just his presence inside with his back to the basket, the ability to score. I think you're right. I think he has the ability to probably be the best big so far that we've seen in this Buzz tenure.
You alluded to this earlier because I think it has to do with Pharrell Payne, but offensively, what is making the offense look at times more efficient?
Well, I think something, and I think even Jay Wright talked about this in the coverage on Saturday, but the ability for us to get downhill. We were able to drive the lane early, and that opened up a lot of other things. When you're not able to drive the lane, when you don't have, shooting from outside, I mean, there's a lot of things where they can just kind of pack the paint, right? And so for us to be able to get downhill and really penetrate the paint, I think that opens up the floor. And I think that's why you've seen a little bit more success. And again, I think some of our success comes from we're getting more open looks than we did last year. I just really felt like last year there was a lot of contested shots. There was a lot of shots where you're like, oh, that's not a good one. And I don't feel like I'm having that thought as much as I did last year.
Yeah, I agree with that. And the beauty is, I feel like the opponents aren't getting a lot of open looks because going back to the defense, I think their ability to just close out on a shooter, like their speed, their form. I mean, if you can talk a little bit from a coach's perspective, their form, because it's not just running at them, it's the way their hands are out wide like a touchdown, right? Like they have pretty close to perfect form closing out on shooters.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought this up. This is a good point. So coaches, I feel like used to teach chop your feet whenever you're coming into a closeout. I don't know if you've noticed, but a lot of our guys almost jump stop when they're coming to. And it allows you, I feel like, to be a little bit more ready on whether they're putting the ball on the floor or whether they're shooting. But you're right. They have high hands. They're coming to a little bit of a jump stop on that. And so I think that that's really impressive. They're putting pressure on the ball. I mean, they're able to get into guys. Their lateral quickness is good enough. Even a guy like Solomon, even Henry Coleman switched off on Braden Smith the other day on Saturday, and he was able to guard him. So you have guys that can guard multiple guys, across the board. And so I think that that's really impressive.
Justin, a couple games before the Texas game to start off SEC play. How do you want to see them finish out the non-conference? What do you need to see?
Yeah, I think Buzz talked about this as well. I think sometimes coaches, and I'm not speaking about Buzz, I'm just saying coaches in general, I think can overcoach sometimes. And what I mean by that is I think coaches can think about the opponent a little bit too much and not worry about themselves as much and do some self-reflecting. And so I hope in these next two games, I hope that we fix the things that need to be fixed. Obviously, sometimes as a coach, it's hard to get players to buy in after a big win. It's easier to coach after a loss, I feel like, because they're in that mode where, hey, they lost and they're just willing to be coached. So sometimes it's hard to coach off of a big win. But hopefully they come in with the mentality of, hey, let's fix things that we need to fix. And yes, obviously we've got to respect our opponent, ACU or whoever's next, and think about them. But we also have to think about what we need to do to get better. And I would really like to see us do what we're supposed to do to these next two teams. I don't want it to be a Southern type game where it's a close one. I would like to see a blowout. I mean, I really would. I would like to see us expand on this and continue to have some success.
Yeah, I agree with that. How hard is it for a coach to not coach sometimes? Like to be able to take a step back, let them figure it out, because it's like parenting. Like there's parts of that, like, you know what, I want to be there for them, but for them to be the better versions of themselves, they're going to have to figure this out for themselves.
Yeah, that's a tough one. That's a really tough thing to do, because I think you saw it in the Southern game. Buzz kind of sat down on the bench and he just kind of sat off to the side really and didn't really say much in the Southern game. And I think even in his post-game conference afterwards, he reflected on that and said, man, I wish I would have stepped in a little bit earlier. And so sometimes that is hard. But I think you mentioned, I'm not a parent yet, but I do think that that's probably a tough thing sometimes, is having them have to learn the lesson on their own. But I think sometimes when you do learn that tough lesson on your own, you're probably not going to make that mistake a second time. And so that's really tough. But I think Buzz, I think his judgment on that is he does a really good job. So I think he'll have them ready.
Yeah, I agree with that. Are there any vulnerabilities that you see on this team? Look, we know they're not a perfect product, and we know that there's going to be games that it's going to be closer than it should be. And we also know that they're going to be able to win games that you sometimes feel like they have no business having a chance in this game. Where you look at vulnerabilities, what do you see with this particular team this year?
Yeah, I still think it's just, and I hate to, continue to say this, but I feel like it's just the outside shooting consistency. That I feel like, and you pair that with a bad defensive effort, and that's our recipe for disaster. I think you've also have this formula that Buzz talked about, that he tries to get to the free throw line, has more free throw attempts than the other team. He tries to get the other team in foul trouble. If you're not doing those things, then I think that's again, a recipe for disaster. So the thing though that just continues to stay with me that I feel like this team has just got to do is just shoot the ball with consistency. I'm not saying have a 50% shooting percent outing, from beyond the arc, and then have 20. I'm just saying, like, if we can live at 40%, I'm good with that. 38% even with and then you have the defensive effort that you had against Purdue. I think you're going to be fine, but I think you can't go from high to low as much as this team has in the past.
Am I right? I think Wilcher's got a big role with this team in SEC play.
Oh yeah, for sure. I would like to see him, and hopefully we haven't shown all of our cards on some of our sets that we're going to run in SEC play, and hopefully get him some more shots. Because man, I'm telling you, when he gets the ball in his hand and he even has just a little bit of room, a little bit of space, I'm just sitting there saying, please let that thing fly, because I think anytime that he shoots the ball, I have faith that it's going in. So I hope that he continues to get more minutes. I do think, I've said this before, I do think whenever he's in defensively, you give up a little bit on the defensive end, but you gain so much with him in offensively that I think you have to have him in.
So in your experience, quality shooters, all right? Quality shooters, like guys who are three-point specialists, in your experience, are they not as dedicated to defense? I'm not talking about Wilcher here, by the way. I'm just in general. I feel like sometimes it's hard to find guys that fit that defensive tenacity that are also quality three-point shooters.
Yeah, because I think defensively, a lot of that comes down to athleticism. And so I think throughout their life and their development, they've relied on getting to the basket. They're your typical dunkers. They're playing above the rim. They're slashing to the basket. And so they don't shoot as much. But it's always funny, though, because as a coach, your three-point shooters always want to be your slashers, and your slashers and guys that get to the basket, they always want to be your three-point shooters. And you have to constantly remind them, hey, you're out here because you're a good shooter. You're not out here because you're getting to the rim. And so I think that's something that as a player, if you can kind of connect the dots and say, hey, I'm out here because I'm a really good three-point shooter. I've just got to do enough to stay on the floor defensively. And I think he does that. He does just enough. And obviously this A&M defensive team is good for him because we help so much. Sometimes that's a negative thing, but because we help so much, I don't think you can see his deficiencies as much.
Justin, great stuff, brother. Thanks so much for your time. We'll talk soon, all right?
Appreciate you, David. Hey, by the way, I love that shirt. Looks good, man.
Thank you, Bo. Appreciate you, man. Snaps official. There we go. All right, Justin Lanham there on the Boss Firearms Hotline. We'll hit a break. We'll come back with Jamie Morrison. We'll look back at a fun 2024 season and what 2025 could look like. We'll talk to Jamie and more here on TexAgs Live. Right now, if it's holiday season, you're thinking about good gifts for your family, like you're like me. I have not done one thing, not one thing of Christmas shopping. Not one. I always wait, and I'm like, yeah, and figure it out in 9 minutes, because guys can figure it out in 9 minutes. You Amazon, or you go to, I don't know, Target, whatever, right? Academy, you're in and out, right? I get it. But if you want to do something a little bit more meaningful and impactful, why don't you reach out to Chance McClain and Heritage Films, right? They'll do a documentary for your family, and that is like a family gift. Yeah, it can be about somebody that you're honoring in your family. That's cool, and I love when they do that, right? That we did it for my dad. That is an awesome way to go. But you could just do it for your entire family events, family meetings, family, pick up basketball games. Whatever makes your family uniquely you, let Chance and his team do a 2-hour documentary that can be passed on from generation to generation. And he is just first-class human, first class at making these stories done. It is Heritage Films. The phone number 713-893-8341. That number again, 713-893-8341. Or check out yourheritagefilm.com. That is yourheritagefilm.com. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. It is hour number 2. Jamie Morrison's here in studio after what I thought was an awesome volleyball season. I'm going to give you, I hope you take this as a compliment.
I hope so.
What I've learned about you is that you make folks who are not interested in volleyball interested in volleyball.
That's the best compliment I've gotten all week.
Right? Like there's guys that come up to me like, I didn't really care, but when I listen to Jamie on the show, like and I start watching, and then I love these players. Like, you have this infectious personality for the sport that you coach, and I think our audience resonates to it. And like Olin this morning was talking about how he watched every second of the game against Wisconsin, the match against Wisconsin. He's biting his nails, how excited he was, and how close it was. You turn folks that care, they want A&M to really care.
No, and I appreciate that. And that was one of my missions. And again, I think I've talked on this show probably a lot, but I'll repeat myself of why I came here. And one of the biggest reasons was the 12th man. And it was this audience that loved Texas A&M. Mm-hmm. And I love our sport. It comes across. I have a passion for it. I think it's one of the most beautiful, graceful, powerful, all the things that come along with it. I think you get all these like high climax moments in the middle of it where you get the end of the set. And I've had so many people like write me that hadn't really watched it, like in the middle of it, like, I hate your sport because it's just like, this is so stressful.
Yeah.
And you get all of these things, and you get these connections between athletes and between points, and you get kind of a small 15-second break to go look away and do something, and then you're back and there's a point going on. And again, I can go on and on, but I love it. And I just wanted a place that that could spread, that there was an audience that, again, loved the school enough that they would come to a game and then they'd fall in love with it. So unfortunately, you're going to have to wait till the spring. I'm trying to get 2 home matches here to do something in there, but I'm really, really proud of what we did this year, and I think on the court, and then just what you're talking about. I get so many people that come up to me that say, like, I've never been to a volleyball game, and that are really, really excited to come back.
I'm an 80s kid, so I use movie analogies all the time, but I looked at what happened against Wisconsin over the weekend as Rocky 1. Right?
I thought you were going to go Goonies, but I
was thinking Rocky 1 because it was a heavyweight fight. It was until the very end, right? Like, just how emotional was that?
I was in tears afterwards, and it was less so about losing. It was more so that just I thought our girls gave everything they possibly could, and just you want the result at the end of it for them, and to see them kind of sad and down, and just I remember we had that little comeback at the end, and I'm like, man, we're gonna get there, and then all of a sudden just this one little bounce, and that's our game again. That's why it's so entertaining to watch. Is for me, it's a mixture of kind of the technique of golf with the athleticism of basketball, and you get a lot of stuff going on, but I don't know. Like, my saving grace in it is one of our core tenets is to put on a show. So, like, to what you're saying, like, we're trying to be entertaining. I try to coach in an entertaining way, and I think I used to be the stoic guy on the sideline, and also there's a competitor that inside of me that wanted to get out, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to be loud. I'm going to be vocal. I'm going to let him out. And I got to the end of it, and I was just thinking about the match, and I'm like, I don't know if there could have been a more dramatic like ebb and flow to 2.5 hours of, I don't know, we were up and some of those sets came down, and then we like lost the first and then came back and won the second, and then they had a SportsCenter #1 top play that kind of got us on our heels for 3 points, and then we lost that set and then came back in the 4th, 5th set it's tied, and then they go up and we come back at the end. It's reliving the whole thing in my head. My heart rate's going up, but I'm really, really proud of our girls, not just for the match. I think it was for the way that we dialed into what it is that we needed to be as a team. And I thought they really bought into that, like, and they had before, but for the last 5 weeks, it was like, all right, let's go. And I'm proud of that.
I know in the past you've told me that you all are ahead of where you thought you'd be at this point. But when you look at the initial goals that you set out for this position into where you are now, how does that kind of morph your future? Not personal, but just A&M volleyball's future here over the next
I think it's just we're ahead of schedule. I think it's the biggest thing. And I've said it over and over again. I took over the program, and you really dive into the history of this. This is a story program. Like 8 Sweet 16s, now 9. I think 27 tournament appearances. I'm getting lost because there's so many numbers there, but like this has been a perennial tournament team. It's been a perennial Sweet 16 team, and my first goal was let's get it back there, and then the next goal is can we take it further? And I think there's a brand piece of that too. And I think if you talk to people in the country and the state of Texas, and you talk about volleyball, they're talking about Texas A&M right now. And that was another one of that. Can we up the brand to the point where recruits will come here, where fans want to come in here and watch a volleyball match because they know it's entertaining? And I think all of that stuff is happening faster than I thought it would. So it just means we're ready for the next step, and that's the Elite Eight and possibly the Final Four. And I think I really, really, really do believe in our girls. I really believe in, the way that our fans have stepped up, the way that our donors have stepped up. I need to throw that in there. And I think with success comes that. But we're headed in the direction of being a really, really good volleyball team next year and a really, really good volleyball program for years to come.
I know you researched the greats and how they've gotten there in volleyball and beyond. How much is of plug and play, and how much of it is like, all right, I see how they did this, but this is my style? How much of the merging?
There's a little bit of my style, and like times have changed. Like,
right.
I think if you look at the way that we got here, it's through developing athletes and human beings, and I want to stay true to that. And I think you have other programs that are going, and there's nothing wrong with this. I'm just saying they're two different models of I'm going to go grab a player for 1 year, have them come in here, their experience, and I'm going to do that. And I love developing.
Right.
I love developing culture. I love developing humans. I love developing volleyball players, and I want to stay true to that. And obviously, if somebody leaves, we got to have somebody transfer in and do those things. But I don't want to rely on the transfer portal. I want to rely on developing the talent that we have within, unless we absolutely need to go get something. So
it's got to be the right fit, right? Because there's something what you're building.
Yeah. Again, going to this, I've been on the phone with recruits, and I really truly believe in. I'll go with my ability to develop, but more importantly, my whole staff. I have an amazing staff that can take. Not anybody. Obviously, you need to have some athletic talent, but we can develop a lot of talent within our program. So it's, hey, can we find the right human beings to come in here and have the right culture, that want to work hard, that want to develop, that want to do those things, and I don't know, raise them up as they come within this. So that's the number one thing we're looking for, and then obviously there's a talent piece that comes along with it.
So how have conversations changed now that you have a couple seasons and you have proof with the recruits when you talk to them? How's that evolved?
I think I want to go back and just give thanks, and I've texted them like 5 times to our 2025 class that's coming in, and I talked about them on the air and here. Just like I remember we beat Florida last year. My first text was to them, and it just said, "Thank you for believing in this before we had the proof." And again, chills as I say that again in there. Just that there was a group of people that are really, really good at volleyball that bought into it, and I think those conversations are obviously like you get more interest from people as you get successful. So. But I think the thing that I'm most fired up about is I get on the phone with club directors or people along those lines, and they see the development.
Right.
And they're like, I want my kid to go there because I know they're going to get developed and I know they're going to be cared for. And then the second thing is, again, getting on recruits right now, and like they're just talking about the way that we're playing, and they talk about that Wisconsin match, for example, and they talk about the way that we came back, the way that we had grit, the way that we cared about each other on the volleyball court, the way that our staff interacted with our athletes in between points. And those are the things, and I think that are really amazing when people are kind of having that for you. So I think that's been awesome. But again, I'm going to go back to this group also. I think they were really dialed in. And I think across the board, you look at the people that we have on this team right now, and I'm not even going to go to the future. The future is really, really bright for them.
What's your schedule like here? Holidays,
What holiday?
Yeah. But you're working. This is busy still time.
No, and I get on here and talk about things that I'm passionate about, and just the rules of this need to change in some way, shape, or form for the athletes and the coaches. And transfer portal opens up in the middle of this like Sweet 16 run, and that's crazy. And you have people calling you, and the world's changing where people are calling players. So you're dealing with that, and then. There's a dead period that starts on Thursday, so then there's this rush to get people to campus if they want to see it. And then I know the things apparently. Heading off to Louisville, the Final Four is going on there. Louisville's putting on a national team development program. So I'm going to go lead that for, I think, 3 or 4 days till the 22nd, and then I'm hoping to sleep.
Yeah.
I got family in town. We built a house here in town, so it's our first Christmas in it, and really looking forward to having some presents under the Christmas tree for Andy and getting to enjoy some downtime.
Before I let you go, do you have a vision of how they can fix it, at least for volleyball?
I don't know. Like I think it's all sports need to be combined into this a little bit. I was thinking about some stuff during, and the hard piece is just you need to get these athletes into school. So I know the window has to happen now because that has to be the priority, and I'm hoping that we keep education as the priority in this because I think it keeps getting pulled away from it.
Right.
Yeah, it keeps getting pulled away from it, and like how do we stay true to that piece of it that they are students and they are athletes, and we need to care about them and get them in here as much as possible. So there's solutions. We're going to talk about it. I think the AVCA president wants to have a chat when I get out to Louisville also. So we'll be talking through that.
All right, and actually the last thing. Well, how did you leave the players? Like, obviously distraught, disappointed, but also super hungry, right?
I wasn't distraught.
No? Okay.
It was, we were actually in the press conference, and someone actually looked at Ava, and they're like, hey, we've had, and I was like, It's kind of a cocky statement for someone to say. We've had a lot of people come through this conference room that have lost. And I'm hoping Nebraska was in there every once in a while, but he was just like, you guys don't seem like there's smiles on your face. And she just looked at him and I felt the same way. It was just like, the future's bright.
Yeah.
Like, this is just the beginning of what's going on. And I think the players feel that. I think volleyball community feels that this entire nucleus of this team is coming back next year. And there might be one or two pieces added to that, but the entire nucleus of a team that took Wisconsin, and if you were to rewind, and I was having a talk with Logan about this, if you were to rewind to day one when I took this job and told me year two I would be disappointed that we're not in the Elite Eight because we lost to Wisconsin by 2 points in the fifth set in an epic volleyball match, I would have told you were crazy. So right. I think the players right now are excited, and they're like, all right, what's next? Let's get to it, and we're going to do some great things in the future.
Can't wait till next season, brother. Thank you. Appreciate you. Come back anytime. All right, we'll hit a break here. We'll come back, open segment, then Joni Taylor will join us at around 9:50. Your car wash tradition with the friendliest staff is Aggieland Express Car Wash. 2 great locations. You have the William D. Fitch one. That's the original. That's the one closest to my house that I go often to. And you have the newest location on Texas Avenue, 2528 Texas Avenue South in College Station across from Planet Fitness. They both have all the washes that you want, but the newest location offers the full-service wash, and they will take great, great care of you. They'll do all the cleaning, the drying, the vacuuming, you name it, and they have 3 levels of full service. We're going to give one away at the phone number 979-693-1150. The first caller will get a $40 value, a free car wash from Aggieland Express Car Wash at the Texas Avenue location. 979-693-1150. FES Appliance and their team of experts are here to help you with the appliances that make your house a home. They have all the top brands, and they make your life easier by fitting any budget. They care for Texas since they've been caring for Texas since 1988. They have an expert staff and trade installers to guide you through the purchase. In fact, I had them over at my house fixing an issue yesterday. They were fantastic. They want to be your trusted appliance store. Visit any of their 8 showrooms across Texas or find them online at factorybuilderstores.com. Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center, because Carlita has got some topics for us.
Yes, I have. It's a topic that I've been interested in, but this idea of these college football coaches getting their contracts reconstructed to kind of funnel money back into their either fundraising campaigns or their NIL or whatever it is. But I know Mike Norvell is the most recent coach at Florida State to have that announced, that he will have $4.5 million of his 2025 salary to help launch the fundraising campaign, just amidst all of the Florida State troubles they had last year. Yep. And then they're struggling on the financial front a little bit, I think. So just the idea that one, can be done, and then two, that it's happening pretty widespread across college football.
So this could become a trend in college football, but what do all 3 of those coaches have in common?
They're not performing well.
They're not performing well. I look at it as, here's a penalty for being bad. That we're going to restructure your contract, but because we want to win so much, we're going to put some of those funds into NIL. That's kind of how I see it. Mm-hmm. We're going to present it a certain way, because, and this may change, but I am not seeing Kirby Smart do that. I'm not seeing Sark do that. I'm not even seeing Kiffin do that. By the way, Brian Kelly, the year that they had, they went 8-4. They had the same year as A&M, but the expectations for this year were higher than that for LSU.
Right.
Oklahoma State went 3-9, I believe, this year.
I think that's right.
They were terrible after going to the Big 12 championship game last year and getting spanked by Texas. They felt like an arrow was pointing up in what to them was a watered-down Big 12. Okay, you have Norvell. They went 2-10 after getting, I think, snubbed from the playoffs last year. But sorry, when you back it up with that, you don't have an argument to be made. So I think some of this is penalty is not the right way to phrase it, but I don't think you're seeing top programs. You're seeing, I don't know if Gundy is on the hot seat, but Norvell has to be on the hot seat. Has to be.
Yeah.
Brian Kelly isn't on the hot seat yet, but he will be on the hot seat if they, and they're doing really well in the portal right now.
Yeah,
they're doing really well.
They've had some success.
But he will be on the hot seat next year if they struggle again. Mm-hmm. So I look at these as coaches who have underperformed at least the last 12 months' expectations.
Right.
It may become widespread to where everybody's doing this, and it's kind of like a wink, wink. Like, all right, we're gonna pay you $2 million more, but we're gonna say that you're donating to NIL. Like, who knows what they're gonna do? But I don't think we're seeing that. And I think those are the only 3 that we know of, right?
That's as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, I think it's just the big 3.
So when Kirby Smart starts doing it, and he may, right? When other coaches are doing it, like here's I could see Florida do this, but I feel like Billy Napier's, the perception of his program went up even after, they don't want to win 7 games at Florida, but it felt like they were going to win 5, right?
Yeah, I think going into the season, there was definitely a question if they would even win 5,
right,
with their schedule. And you're right. I don't think 7 should be the standard for success, but I think looking back at what we thought going into the year, I think 7 was successful for them.
So when you look at it, it might become a trend in college football, but we're not seeing Heupel do it. We're just not. Like, we're not seeing Sark do it. We're seeing coaches who had a less than spectacular 24 season, and for some schools, 8 wins feels like a really good year. And I'm not saying that's the case for A&M, because I don't think anybody was happy with this year's 8 wins, even though it was a step in the right direction. I don't think anybody's happy with 8. At LSU, even though they, outside of the couple of national championships, 2019, and I guess a pretty good year in Brian Kelly's first year, they have not reached what they think should be their potential. In this past year, I think they had a chance until A&M smacked them in the face, and they went down. Same thing happened to A&M. They had a chance until they got smacked by South Carolina, and then certain warts showed up. So I do think that this is more of a for teams that are struggling or not reaching the potential that they should reach. And everyone's going to be unhappy except the team that wins the national championship.
Right.
But there's different levels of unhappy from where your expectations were when the start of the season happened. All right, we'll hit a break. We will come back with Joni Taylor on the other side. They are now 6-5. They had a nice victory just last night. Right now, if you're looking for the perfect spot to get your food cravings, you need to check out the Varsity Grill House. Great food, Aggie-owned and conveniently located in front of the Academy on Highway 6. I have the ribeye tacos. Oh, so good. That's my favorite go-to when I go to the Varsity Grill House. You can get great desserts there as well. They'll cater all of your needs there for holiday events, parties, tailgating, you name it. They create unforgettable experiences for big events and small events with signature dishes. It is the Varsity Grill House, your home for good times and great food. We'll see you there. It is TexAgs Live. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We are in the Rollo Insurance Studio. Just saw this from Frank Mason on the YouTube chat. I found it interesting. Nuño, I just read on X, there's a rumor Ryan Williams may enter the portal. If true, the Aggies need to fork out at least $3 million for him. What do you think? So, yes, I would love Ryan Williams to consider Texas A&M. I would. And yes, Frank, if he's in the portal, I would assume that's a phone call they would make. But I think that's part of the problem with where college football is. A guy like Ryan Williams should not enter the portal, right? Like it. I don't know if he's unhappy at Alabama. I've not read anything. And again, these are rumors, and I think people throw out these rumors and hope that it'll stick. But we live in a college football world where a guy like Ryan Williams tells his family all season long and his friends, man, I'm assuming, there's maybe not even use Ryan Williams, a guy with his kind of talent, tells his family all year, yeah, man, this has been great. Kalen DeBoer treats us awesome. You know, we fell short of our expectations, but what a fun place. I really like it. I'm part of the offense. I'm a huge part of what we're doing here. It's a great place for me. Then this agent named Theo calls him, Theo the agent. He goes, hey, Ryan, look, I think they're paying you $600,000, $800,000 at Alabama, whatever the number is, $12. I know for a fact I can quadruple that number. Just sign with me. I'll get you the money, and I'll get you. You tell me 3 or 4 places you really want to go to. I'll make the calls. I'll get it happen. It will happen because people want you. And then at 18, or I think he's 18. He was 17 during the year. What? 17. All right. A kid is like, I don't really want to leave, but I get, and they'll make the case for you. Look, if Alabama really wants you, they need to pay you market value. And here's market value. This is what you should get because this is what people with less than your skills are getting. I don't know, man. I'm really happy here. I got my teammates and yada, yada. You got to go in. And again, I'm doing this theoretical conversation just to kind of illustrate the point. Then he's like, I guess I'll go in. And that's what's going to happen. I know there's talk about Quinn Ewers going to the NFL or maybe going to a Big Ten team. That was another rumor. And I don't remember the most recent thing I read, but I think Quinn was asked about it, and he's like, he's just focused on the playoff game. And he might be a different case because they obviously everybody in Austin is clamoring for Arch to start. But if you are happy and producing, and the Quinn one might not be the right example to use here. I don't like the portal just to make money. And I am all for capitalism. I'm all for you to make as much money as you can make in life. And I can understand if you have a kid who, hey, you know, you could get hurt tomorrow, not make the NFL, make as many millions as you can. I understand all that. But if you are happy, you should not go in the portal. And now you can say, but I'm not being compensated enough. Says who? Like this negotiation that doesn't really exist until you make it exist. It's kind of like, and I get it, when you work in the work, I'm talking out of two sides of my mouth, and I don't mean to. But when you work in the workforce, right, like you feel like you need to get compensated more at your company. You go flirt with another company down the street, then you bring that number to your bosses, and they got to make a decision. You got to, again, I'm almost 50. I believe in quality of life. I don't know if I felt that way when I was 24. Actually, I did because I made no money, and I purposely made no money to follow this career path. But quality of life, if you're happy with your friends, your teammates, your coaches, I don't know why you, like, don't you feel like you should build something?
Mm-hmm. I mean, you look at Ashton Genty.
Yeah, there you go.
He probably had potential to leave Boise State every year. And now he was a Heisman runner-up. Like,
and I would have voted for Ashton if I had the vote.
Yeah.
But I don't have a Heisman vote. But my point again is, like, you're putting kids in an impossible situation to decide millions of dollars in some cases, more than you're making right now. And I can guarantee you we did this little, we did this little act a couple weeks ago where I was like, I wouldn't go to Orange Bloods for quadruple my salary. I wouldn't. I couldn't look at myself in the mirror. But I also understand, like, the desire to make significant money, generational wealth. I get it. Like, it sucks. Frank says that he saw that Ewers may go to North Carolina, a rumor on X. I don't want to comment on all rumors because they were just rumors, and he is not in the portal. But that being said, this is the world we live in. Somebody's going to be willing to pay you, right? If you're a performer at the highest level, somebody is going to be willing to pay you more than you're making. And the musical chairs, I don't think is good for the health of the game, right? The health of the game. Well, one of the things we loved about college was, like, I got 3 years to watch this team grow. One of the things that would drive us crazy if you had a terrible year It's going to take a couple of years to rebuild. I'm not saying do away with the portal. I'm not saying do away with NIL. What I'm saying is the current structure sucks. And you shouldn't be enticed. Mm-hmm. Right? Like, it should be, there's no way to fix that. Because what do they say? The ketchup's out of the bottle, right? Like, how do you fix it? But if you are in a situation where somebody's calling you where you're completely happy, a recruiter, and this happens in the real workforce, which is why, like, there's maybe a recruiter listening to me right now, like, I was about to call you, Nuño, I was about to pay you millions. Not the case. It is too hard for these athletes to not think about what that means to them. But I'm talking about for the health of the game, for the health of a program. Ryan Williams, a player of that level, if he's happy, and I don't know if he is, I don't know anything other than he is a special player that we're reminded how old he was every time he played on TV. He's not the kind of, like Jalen Milroe, shouldn't have been a guy that people go court if you're happy where you're at. But that's the world we live in college football, and programs have to adapt. Players are adapting to it, and it's just a sad state of affairs. That what they really need to do is not only put these guardrails here, is figure out a way to add incentives to these bowl games like they did in basketball for these tournaments to make you want to play and make extra money, because the opt-outs are hurting the health of the game as well. Even though we're getting millions of people watching these playoff games, I know we will, we need to see what happens next. All right, we'll hit a break here. We'll come back with more. You're listening to TexAgs Live. We're back here on TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We are in the Rollo Insurance Studio. It is hour number 3. We're going to talk about some big picture things in college football. We just talked a moment ago about some rumors about NIL, and Trey Wallace always has an opinion from Outkick.com. So let's go to the Boss Firearms Hotline where we're joined by Trey. What's up, buddy?
Brother, it's good to see you, man. A little bit of a busy time down there in College Station with all this portal and recruiting and all this nonsense going on, right?
Yeah, man. So I just did a segment a moment ago on, there's rumors online, and I hate commenting on rumors about Ryan Williams maybe going in the portal. They're rumors at this point. But if Ryan Williams is going to go in the portal, a player like Ryan Williams, who seemed to be happy and thriving at a program, I don't like that players, if they're happy, are just going to be enticed by agents because, hey, I can triple your salary. And I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth when I say that, Trey, because I feel like you should be able to make as much money as possible. But I don't love the idea of people who are happy who aren't even thinking about being in the portal. And I don't know if he is, but just guys like that, they're like, okay, I guess I'll try it, see what I can make. I don't like that for the game of college football.
Yeah, so that's the problem that we're running into right now, David, and I've spoken with a bunch of NIL agents. Some of them, I use that term lightly over the last month and a half, 2 months. And what you're starting to see, David, is these players don't even know they're being shopped around. And so when it gets down to it, so what happens is let's just say Ryan Williams, for instance. Ryan Williams shows out all season long, and you've got some third party agent, again, using that term lightly, that starts reaching out to collectives at other schools, maybe reaching out to contacts, assistant coaches and whatnot, and saying, hey, look, if this were to happen, what would the market rate be for Ryan Williams at your school? And so it gets down to it. Okay, well, this guy hears, let's just say $2 million. Okay, this guy hears $2 million. Oh, well, wait a minute. You're telling me that some Big Ten school is going to offer him $2 million if he decides to get in the portal. Okay, all right, now, cool. Now, I can go to Ryan Williams and say, hey, man, and doing it, by the way, through back channels, because Ryan Williams has representation. So doing it through back channels and through family members, hey, man, look, I talked to this coach, man. Like this collective is they're talking about $2 million. I can get you if you were to transfer. Oh, wait a minute. What? Okay. So what that does is it starts putting it in the heads of the family, starts putting it in the heads of the player itself, because you know that's going to get back to them. And then you're having to ruffle through the mud when it comes to what is actually real and what is actually not real in this situation. And we're seeing that so much right now, man. I can't tell you how many players are in the portal right now at this moment because they heard a deal could potentially be offered to them if they were to enter. Now they're finding out when they enter the portal, wait a minute, that deal that you talked about, that's not there anymore? Wait, what's going on? That's the questions. That's the problems that you're getting right now. That's what I do not like about what we are seeing right now with NIL and the portal. And I am not sitting here and saying that it's every single agent out there and whatnot. There's some really good NIL agent and representations out there. And they don't have to be with the big companies either, okay? There are some stand-up folks. But at the same time, we are seeing this. You're all here's the other problem too, David. You got agents trying to make names for themselves, brother. So they go and they try to find these deals. Wait a minute, I'm going to become a big NIL agent. So let me go out here and shop this player around and try to get the biggest sum for him. And then I go back to him. Wait a minute, I'm going to represent him now. That's what it's coming down to. And when you sign with an agency or whatnot, whoever that might be, whatever the, WME agency or CAA, whoever, Rosenau, doesn't matter. When you have these big companies, it's their job to find out what the market is for you if you were deciding. Even if you're not going into the portal, it's still their job to figure out how much you are worth, because that's leverage with the current school that they're at. And there's no way of getting around it. That's where we're at right now. Even if Ryan Williams is not wanting to leave Alabama, he can still go back and say, well, wait a minute, this school is offering me this much money. Can you guys get into the ballpark? And some kids don't want to deal with it. Some of these kids are they're cool with what they're getting. They're fine. Okay, I'm getting $1.5 million. I'm getting $1 million to play. Okay, I'm fine. I don't want to pick up and pack my bags and go to a new school for a year or two and be done with it. But the problem is we're seeing a lot of outliers right now that are causing a ruckus in college football. And these coaches, these collectives, these athletic departments, they are so sick of it. And what I tell them is, you think it's bad now? Wait till revenue sharing starts. Wait till revenue sharing starts, and then a school is going to offer you a certain amount of money, which is going to come from the school itself. But then you're going to have other institutions come out and say, well, wait a minute, we can give you this much. So then you're going to have bidding wars between schools. It's not going to be agents. It's going to be Alabama versus A&M for a kid. And I'm not, and I know people think, well, wait a minute, that happens all the time. No, it doesn't. You don't have athletic departments getting into bidding wars with their colleagues at other schools. That's what we're heading towards with revenue sharing. And you know what? I think we're at a point right now is you thought you'd seen it all when it comes to NIL and this stuff, buddy. You haven't seen anything yet.
So that's going to happen, but then there's still going to be NIL, right? So there's still going to be that war going on at the same time.
You got to and a lot of people have asked me, and so what is going to happen to the collectives and whatnot when revenue sharing happens with schools? Okay, well, a school is going to pay, let's just say, the first string linebacker. They're going to pay the first string linebacker, let's just go $400,000, something like that. Let's just say $400,000. Okay, well, then you're going to have the collective that is still around that's going to go out and shop for the bigger deals. And that comes from endorsements. That comes from the booster section of this, because the schools aren't going, like, I know what the rev share cap is going to be. I think we have all seen it. Like, I think football, you're going to see probably around from the 13 to 17 million mark a year, because you got to spread the rest of the money out to other sports. Okay. So you're going to have a school that's going to offer a kid a certain amount of money. And then you're going to have the collective that comes on the backside and says, hey, okay, we can sweeten this deal with our boosters and we can give you this much. And you're going to do advertisement with us for these companies. Because look, man, like the athletic departments at these schools, you have to think about this. Just think about it really hard, because I had to try to wrap my head around this when revenue sharing first started. You have an athletic department they're setting up different staffs right now and hiring new staff members and whatnot. So they don't have enough resources to go out and find deals for over 250 some odd players. You're going to have 85 players on your football team. Okay, well, you got to add in your basketball, your women's and your men's, your track and field, your baseball, your softball. They don't have enough resources to do this. So what they're going to do is say, okay, here's just the blanket money that we're going to give you through rev sharing. And then you know what? If you're good enough, if you're a star, okay, that's where the collective comes in, and they're still going to be able to go out and find the other deals, and also at the same time offer you a lot more. It's not like these deals are coming off the books for these collectives that they currently have right now. What you're seeing is, if a kid signs with a school right now and you're seeing a number that's beside it, what that is, that's a bridge deal. It's going to go from right now, December, to July. And then they're going to have to try to set up another deal when it comes to, okay, here's what the school is going to offer, here's what the collective offers. So I'm just saying, like, we're at a point right now where I know it's a little hasty, and I know things seem very much complicated, and they are. I think we're going to get to a point, David, where, brother, these schools are going to get in over their heads and they're going to need more help. And I'm starting to see that right now with schools kind of throwing up their hands, being like, well, damn, what do we do here? How many more people do we have to hire to fill out a staff to handle this NIL stuff? So it is going to get even crazier. And I can't believe I'm saying that, but we're at a point right now, and you're seeing it. We're at a point right now where you got kids leaving schools while they're about to prepare for a playoff game. And so what does that look like next year in that same situation, that same scenario? So I just think this is the tip of everything that's coming, man, and it's only going to get a little bit crazier.
So Trey, nobody has the right answer, and I feel like you could figure something out that's better. I feel like we could get in a room together, at Trey, myself, Lucci, whatever, right? Get a couple dudes, Chad Withrow, and figure it out. We could all figure it out together as a group. Invite Clay Travis; it'll be fun. But
no kidding, right?
But they haven't done that. So do you have an idea of what could fix this? Because the player's like, why fix it? But there's got to be a fix for the good of the game.
Well, and that's the problem that you're running into right now. It's like, what is the fix? Okay, because here's the calendar right now has screwed things up so much for these kids. I got to give credit to Kenny Dillingham. Kenny Dillingham, you have seen him come out and say, look, we got players that are entering the transfer portal because they're trying to go find more playing time. But at the same time, we need them through the playoffs. We need them for depth. We need them if something happens. So you know what? I'm going to support them in their free time when they're not preparing for games and practicing. Okay, go look around at schools. Go talk to other places. I'm going to help you on social media. Look what he did when the portal first opened. He's sitting there quote tweeting all of his players saying, okay, how good this kid would be at your school. Okay, so then you get into a situation where what we saw with Bo Pribula at Penn State, the quarterback, this week. He comes out, and I'm not trying to hate on the kid. I'm just being realistic here. He comes out and blames the NCAA for the problem. And don't get me wrong, the NCAA in this calendar is a massive problem. But you can't tell me that you wouldn't be able to figure out a couple places that you are interested in that are going to offer you a good amount of money, and you can stick around and play through the playoff games, which is this weekend, by the way. So I think, and that's the kind of the point I was trying to make with this Bo Pribula situation, the quarterback at Penn State is, okay, well, I'm seeing one thing with Kenny Dillingham in Arizona State, and then I'm seeing James Franklin get on the podium and says, well, there's nothing we could have done. Like, this kid really wanted to stay here through it, and you know what? Everything just broke down. It's like, no, wait a minute. No. Like, you're setting up that part where if you enter the portal, things have to go a different way. I think what's going to happen down the road, I think you're going to have enough coaches complaining and enough commissioners complaining about this that the calendar is going to change again. I don't know when that's going to be, but the calendar is going to change again because it is a disadvantage for the school. It's a disadvantage for everybody because you've got schools out there trying to recruit kids that are currently playing in the CFP, and then you've got kids on CFP rosters trying to, and I'm talking about like second string guys that are looking for places to play and get more playing time. But you got them, they're sitting in a situation where it's like, well, dang, I don't want to leave my teammates, but I got to figure out what my future looks like. If I have a lot of sympathy for Bo Pribula. He's not going to play next year because Drew Aller is coming back at quarterback for them. So he's got to go find a place to play. But at the same time, you can't tell me that he couldn't stick around through their playoff game and even through some downtime that they would have in between if they were to win this weekend against SMU. So I think we're going to get a calendar change. I think it would be smart. I don't know how they would make it work because of the winter semester, but have something in January. Have something when it's all over, the CFP's over, make it a 2-week window, something along those lines. Be like, okay, 2-week window, playoffs are over, go find your new home. Because you still got this early signing day in February. It's like, wait a minute, okay, why is this other early signing day still sticking around if we're handling everything that's going on now in December and January? So, and we also can't forget the spring portal period. Like, hello. So I just feel like we're going to see a change. I don't think they're not going to get rid of the spring portal period for the examples that we're seeing right now. Right now, that's why they're not getting rid of that spring portal period, and coaches can complain about it and argue about it, but at the same time, you got to find a middle ground for the players. And look, they brought this on themselves. Like, everybody wants to sit here and kind of blame the players for looking around. No. It was the coaches. It was the NCAA. It was the commissioners that said, all right, we're going to do all this NIL stuff. We're going to do this revenue sharing stuff. We're going to figure out a way around it. But now you got players kind of taking advantage of the system, and they're like, oh, no, not me. It's like, yeah, it's you. So,
Trey, let's keep fixing college football because I think we're on a roll here. How do we fix the bowl system, incentivize these games that maybe players, I understand if you were to be a first or second round pick, I get that, right? But how do we fix it along with the calendar, maybe with the portal, but just guys not wanting to play? How do we fix bowl games and make them matter again?
Yeah, I think that's going to be a big, big problem because what is the benefit besides you upping your draft stock for playing in the Independence Bowl, the Birmingham Bowl, the Gasparilla Bowl, you name it? And that is no hate to those because I'm looking forward to Vanderbilt versus Georgia Tech in the Birmingham Bowl. But at the same time, we have to look at it and be like, well, wait a minute. The only way that you can really make this valuable for these players to stick around is there's two ways. One is if the players are just so bought into the system and they want to go out with their teammates and they want to play. And I know that's a lot saying when you've got money on the line as well. What a lot of people aren't looking at as well too is these NIL contracts for these players. A lot of them have bonuses in them. If you go play in that bowl game, you're going to get a one-time bonus to go play in that bowl game, or it's in your NIL contract. I mean, David, look at the players that are going to go play for Ole Miss. You got Jackson that's going to go play, Dart. You got Walter and Olin. I could go on and on and on with these guys, and they're going to go play in the bowl game. I think you're going to have a very hard time down the road with and I call them second tier bowl games. I'm not talking about like the Citrus Bowl or the Gator Bowl or the Holiday Bowl or whatnot. The bowl games that we grew up and we're like, oh man, okay, those are premier games you got to go see. But at the same time, I think, the risk of injury is so much there in these situations, David, that I don't think it's worth it for some of these kids. I really don't. Like if you're not playing for a college football playoff spot or a championship or you're in the tournament, what is the real benefit for you going to play in one of these bowl games? There's not really one unless you are incentivized to go play. Okay, I'm going to make another $100,000 to go play in this bowl game. Okay, yeah, I'll go play. I'll make sure that I have an insurance waiver signed and filled out and all that stuff. Or if I get hurt, at least I'm taken care of in the short term. Long term will be screwed up. But the problem is that we've made such a big deal out of the CFP, which it is, by the way, that you've downgraded the other ones, which comes with the territory. So, I think some of them will survive down the road. And let's be honest, ESPN owns most of these bowl games, okay? This is television revenue for them. They're going to do everything they can. Okay, if you're making money off these games, if you're getting ratings and you're selling commercials and you're doing this, and this, and I'm talking about ESPN in this situation, okay, you better incentivize these players to play in that game. If not, you're going to see a bunch of second and third stringers out there that are just getting playing time and getting prepared for 2025. That's where it's got to come into. It can't just be on the schools, man. It's got to be on the networks to say, all right, if we're going to have Jackson Dart out here with Lane Kiffin in a bowl game and they're going to play, well, damn, we need to pay Jackson Dart a little bit of money to go out there and risk injury before the draft comes up in 4 or 5 months. I just think that's where, if I could fix it, that's where it would go, because you can't tell me that they're not making, $5 to $10 million off each one of these bowl games for television revenue. It's preposterous at this point.
All right, Trey, we're going to keep it going because I'm going super long on this segment. I see that you're against Cam Ward's thought of adding 16 to 24 teams in the playoffs. What is? Do you like the number at 12?
I like the number at 12 or 14. Okay. 16, 24, man. That can't tell me there's 24 teams out there that are good enough to be a national champion. You can't. I'm sorry. Like you have to draw the line somewhere. I get what's going on here. You give more opportunities for teams to get in, and then you would have to set up double buys, and then hell, we're talking about an NFL schedule, man. We're talking about 18 games in a season. Okay, well, 18 games means you're going to have to pay these players a hell of a lot more money. You're going to have a situation where the bowl games and ESPN and the CFP, well, they're going to be making more money. But at the same time, is Missouri good enough to go win a national championship right now? Where they're ranked? No. Missouri will get run off the field by some of these teams. And that's not a shot at Missouri. I'm just being honest and realistic here about where they're ranked at. Is Army good enough? Well, Army's in the top 25. I know they got beat this past weekend, but they're in the top 25. So if we go to 24 teams, they'd have a shot to get in. No, man, it would be a wasted game. I just feel like you're getting to a point where I get it. It's all about expansion. And I do think by 26, it's probably going to be 14 teams. Like, I think they agreed to it by like 26. Does it go into place there? We'll see. I think it'll be 14 teams. And that's fine. You're giving what, 2 more double buys pretty much at the end of the day, or just a buy in general. I think that would work. But I think Cam Ward, I don't know what Cam Ward was thinking when he said something like that, but he was probably set up with the question, hey, how many more teams do you think need to be in that situation? I just think it's too much. And I think if we start going down the basketball route, you see how many teams are in the basketball tournament, they're wanting to expand that now. Well, how much more expansion y'all want, man? Like, if we get 14 teams, okay, there are 14 teams that are good enough to win a national championship. I think that would be the case this year. I think we do have 12 teams in this country that are good enough to win a national championship this year. But if you'd have told me in 2024 that with the top 25 rankings where they're at right now, that we have a 2014 playoff, there are not 24 deserving teams. And we're not going to be able to say that every year. This has been one of those years where we don't know who's going to win the national championship. And some years we know who the top 4 teams are in the country, and they're bulldozing others. And we know that, it's like Georgia, they boat raced TCU. Like, we knew Georgia was that good at that point. We knew Michigan was good last season and was most likely going to win a title because of the talent that they had. You just can't tell me that there's that many teams out there that are good enough and should get a shot at a national championship, because then you're going to throw in teams with 4 losses, and it's like, wait a minute, 4 losses and you're going to be a national champion? You're diminishing the value of a national championship by doing that.
All right, I was going to let you go, but I'll ask this. What's gotten real quiet is the SEC and Big Ten breaking away to start their own league. That we haven't heard that in a while. Do you think we're done with those talks?
I don't think we're done, but I think after that meeting in Nashville I was at, where they wanted to sit here and have this joint statement, it's like Republicans and Democrats getting together for a press conference. It's like, all right, we're joining together for this cause. I don't think we're done hearing that, brother. I think that you've seen both commissioners kind of go quiet on certain topics. Does that ramp up? I think it does. Again, when it ramps up, when it comes to expansion, I think you're going to see some noise to come out of the meetings that they're going to hold in Atlanta around the national championship. You're going to see all the ADs and whatnot come together, Big Ten, SEC come together, ACC, everybody's going to come together for meetings. They're going to talk about what the future looks like. And sure, the Big Ten, the SEC, they're a tag team in this situation. But at the same time, they are looking out for each other. It's like Marty Jannetty and Shawn Michaels. Like, at some point, Shawn Michaels, which is Greg Sankey, is going to super kick Tony Petitti, which is the Big Ten, and you're going to have a separation. At the end of the day, everybody's looking out for themselves, and they want to put on a little show and say we're working together. That's fine, but I just don't see how that's going to work going forward.
Saturday night's main event with Trey Wallace here on TexAgs Live. Nicely done, my friend.
My man. You know it.
See you, brother. Good job. Good stuff as always.
Thank you, buddy. I appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, we'll hit a break here. Open segment when we come back, and then we'll close out with Charean Williams here on TexAgs Live. So if you're really good at what you do, and I know many of you who listen to this, you're Aggies. Of course you're really good at what you do. I want you to know that Rollo Insurance is very good at what they do, and find out what my family knows and many people who work here at TexAgs know, and this Aggie community as well, that they are the ones that are going to take care of you with all of your insurance needs. When it comes to gamesmanship, they're going to be the ones that are going to help you out. They are the absolute best, right? They want you to understand that the difference is real. And that difference has been real for a lot of Aggies in this community, but they're all around the place, right? 60 offices in Texas, their headquarters right here on Highway 6. They will take 100% care of you. They've done it for my family and many, many others. The number is 888-44-ROLLO, 888-44-ROLLO. We'll go to rolloinsurance.com/TexAgs. That's rolloinsurance.com/TexAgs. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. We went along with Trey Wallace, who was just trying to fix college football. And I wish I had the answers, guys. I wish we could just do this, this, and this. I bet you I could figure it out, though. I bet Nick Savage could figure it out. Like, I'm telling you, like, it can't be that hard. Now, getting the institutions to buy in, the conferences and TV, that's a different animal. But there's got to be a way to fix it. And maybe you don't want to fix it. Maybe you're like, this is college football. This is what it is. It's always been the Wild West, but now we just talk about it more. And I don't like it. But I love seeing A&M add players. So I can be selfish, all right? And I like to see that. Hopefully, if you guys are premium subscribers at TexAgs.com, our transfer portal thread is ridiculous. It's so much great intel going in there. Bronny's been updating it this morning. You should check it out. Hopefully we get a clearer picture on some names out there here over the next few hours, hopefully. And that doesn't necessarily mean commitments for A&M, but it maybe means clearing the picture a little bit more. So hopefully we'll have that. And just make sure you're a premium subscriber, and Bronny and Billy and Jason Howell will have you all updated there. All right, we go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Kalita Gardner.
Yeah, there's actually an interesting conversation happening in the YouTube chat right now. Someone says playoff team selection should be removed from committee and go back to the BCS. The only issue was there was an undefeated 3 or 4 team on occasion. Let the formula do the work.
You know what? I don't know if I agree. I don't know if I agree. But AI, if you will, has gotten so much more advanced than whatever the algorithm was in the early days that I do believe that they are at a point where it would be cleaner, right? I still think you need to have some human element. Mm-hmm. Is it Major League Baseball that does like or basketball, whoever does where fan vote is part of it, right? And then there's what the teams want to do. Richard's probably start yelling at me for being wrong about what sport, but regardless, there's got to be a way that I do think that the committee is involved, but then you have AI or whatever, this BCS formula to help fix the mistakes that the human eye sometimes makes.
Right.
Some kind of algorithm conglomeration of human. Why am I doing this with my hands? Right? Like I got like broken fingers. But that's what I think makes the most sense in that world.
Yeah, I think there's been a lot of error in the past however many years we've had the playoffs,
humans screw stuff up.
Yeah.
We do.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not as hard as we make things.
Yeah.
Like I actually think I disagree with Trey Wallace. I like the idea of expanding. Yeah, do I think that teams 16 through whatever have a chance, 16 through 24 have a chance to win a national championship? Maybe on a certain year where you get hot. Maybe.
Yeah.
But more than likely, no. Right? More than likely, no. But if we do want to make bowl games matter more, that is a way to do it, where you can still bye week a couple of the top teams. I don't know how you would make it work, like from a mathematical like bracket way to do it. But I am way more interested in Indiana, Notre Dame than I would be otherwise. Right. If it was just a bowl game, I don't think I would watch it for sure. Like I'd watch if it's on, but like I feel like that is now appointment viewing because of the implications.
Totally.
Texas and Clemson. There's some, and obviously you got a great matchup with Ohio State and Tennessee, right? So I do think by expanding a little bit more, the casual viewer will be more intrigued to watch, and then these bowl games have a little bit more incentive. I'd like to figure out a way to maybe incentivize those bowl games for something. I even thought of like a separate little tournament between those bowls.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of like the NBA weird tournament that they do in the middle of the year that nobody understands how it works, but and I haven't watched 1 second of it, so I'm just talking. But I think there's other ways to make it fun, and not an NIT, but maybe an NIT-ish kind of vibe to it, just to add some fun to it, right? So
yeah, I mean, you talk about the Indiana Notre Dame game. Like I think about last year, like Georgia, Florida State would have been a bowl game. I mean, a playoff game. And maybe they wouldn't have been matched up with the way the 12 team works now.
But let's just use that as an example. And I know Florida State got demolished.
Right. They had a lot of players opt out. Which
different emphasis if it's a playoff game.
Totally. Absolutely.
Right.
100%.
I don't know what the right number is. I'm not trying to, figure it out right here. But I wouldn't mind seeing it expand. But I've said this before. I want to see A&M win in the current model before A&M takes advantage of the next model. Just like I wish A&M could have made it to the 14 playoff Because we all obviously, under this thinking, they would have made the 2020 playoffs, right? So but I would prefer, I would just want them to make the playoffs and do well. But I would prefer to take advantage of this structure first, next year.
Yeah.
Be one of the 12 teams. Actually be one of the 4 teams, top 4 teams.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
And then we can expand and take advantage of that as well.
Totally.
All right. Anything else?
No.
All right, we'll hit a break here. Charean Williams will join us on the other side. Bird Dog Time, Aggie owned and operated company creating access to hunting companies. Think of it as an Airbnb for hunting and for hunters and for ranchers. It's just awesome. They take care of everything for you. They find you the ranch. They have all the pictures online. You can kind of choose what you want. You can have add-ons to it. You want to have a concert at night. You want to have a yoga instructor there. You want to have whatever, right? You want to do helicopter shooting. They'll set it all up for you. They take care of everything, right? All you got to worry about is having fun and doing your hunt. Or if you're a rancher, getting more money on your land. That's what they do. They set it up for you. They're the middleman. They're the Airbnb for hunters. They want to make memories for hunters and for being outdoors with your good friends. It's birddogit.com, the website, birddogit.com. Bird Dog, check it out. Final 20 minutes or so of the show is TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Let's go to the Boss Firearms Hotline. We're joined by Charean Williams, a pro football talker, our great friend, and of course, the Aggie Hall of Famer. Charean, good morning.
Good morning. It's been a while. It's good to talk to you.
Great to talk to you, too. How interested are you in these college football playoff games this weekend?
Yeah, I'm interested. I wonder how much football overload I'm going to have after Saturday, because I want to watch all the college games. I have to cover the second NFL game that day, which is the Ravens and Steelers, which is going to be a really good game. So 2 pro games and the college, 3 college games and the college game Friday night, and then a full load on Sunday. Cowboys play Sunday night. So it's going to be 3 days, and then Monday night game, 4 days of football. So, I don't usually get football overload. I kind of had it last night because the 2 games were so bad, but hopefully these games are good and I don't get football overload this week.
Which playoff game are you most intrigued by this weekend?
Well, I think that's obvious. Texas and Clemson, I think that's the one all Aggies are interested in. I think we're all Tigers fans this week, and we'll see what happens. It's interesting. I was just talking to somebody about how much parity there is now in college football with NIL and everything else. I think Oregon, by far, I think everybody would say is the best team in college football. But is it going to surprise anyone if they lose their first game? Is it going to surprise anyone if Texas loses to Clemson, or Boise State wins, or SMU win? I don't think anyone's going to be surprised with any result that happens in the college football playoff. So it's going to be a surprise, I think, whatever happens. Oregon, again, I think is the best team. If I was going to bet on a team to win it, it would no doubt be Oregon, but I'm not going to be surprised with any result that happens in this. And, no one gives Georgia much of a chance without Beck, but, he wasn't playing that well either. So, I think they even got somewhat of a chance to get it done. They certainly have an easier route, I think, than Oregon does.
Charean, I don't think we've spoken since the Las Vegas Bowl was announced. What do you think about A&M and USC?
Well, it's a great place to go. I was there for the Super Bowl for 10 days, and it's a great atmosphere, great place to be. If any Aggie fan can go, I'd highly encourage going. Obviously, it's Vegas, but the stadium's fantastic, and everything about the experience is good. I think it's a great venue for A&M to go to. Much better, obviously, than the Houston Bowl, where they've been multiple times, and maybe would have had a bigger crowd at that game. But I like the fact that they're going to Vegas. I like the fact that they're playing USC. I think it'll be a challenge. These bowl games, when it's not for the playoffs, they're really interesting because you lose so many players, and you're not playing really some of the same team that you had in the regular season, but it's an opportunity for young guys to get some experience. So it's going to be good. I think it's going to be a good game, and we'll see what happens. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And I just think for certain players, this is just another opportunity to get some more reps. And like a guy like Marcel Reed, as much promise as he showed, I just want to see him. Can you imagine if he has another performance like he had in last year's bowl game? Yeah, and that's what he needs. He needs reps, and he needs them bad. And so I look forward to seeing him play and get those and, throw some passes and do all the things that we know he can do because he's just going to get better the more reps he has. So I think this is very important for him. The practice time is very important. They've got to do something about changing the portal when it opens, and I don't know how they're going to do it. I understand you're trying to get guys in for the semester that starts, but guys leaving these playoff teams is utterly ridiculous in the middle of playoffs. And I understand why they're doing it, but it's set up. College football has got a lot of problems, and that's one of many problems they have right now. They've got a lot to figure out, but they do. Whoever said, I don't even remember who the coach was, said that the college football needs a commissioner. I think that's absolutely 100% accurate. It's got a lot of problems to figure out. Hey, the Texans, they win the division as expected. What do you think of that game with the Dolphins? Yeah, they played pretty well in that game. They still make some errors, some dumb errors that they've got to fix and figure out. They've got to figure out their offense. Their offense, obviously, is the same offense that it was last year. And it's not just only the offensive line. That's not their entire problem. So they've got to figure out the offense if they have any prayer of winning a playoff game, because they're going to get it. They're going to have a tough game the first round. Last year they had the Browns, and they killed the Browns at home. They do get a home playoff game, but if that offense doesn't play better than what it's played in the regular season, they've got no chance. But you've got 3 weeks here to get ready, get prepared. I'm sure they'll rest their starters the last week, so they'll be well rested for the playoff game. But now it's just figuring out, how to get it done with that offense.
What do you think happened to the Lions this weekend?
Say it again.
The Lions this weekend, they're was it 46-42 loss there to the Buffalo Bills?
Yeah. They just have so many injuries on defense, and I think it tells you the job that Aaron Glenn's done with what he's had to work with. And Dan went on the radio today and went off. I used a couple of profanities on the radio and said, we'll be able to overcome our injuries. I don't know how they're going to be able to overcome those injuries on defense. It's so many players and so many good players that I don't know how they're going to overcome that. And it's unfortunate, but and now they've lost David Montgomery too for the season. So they've just taken some huge, massive hits that it takes a little luck to win a Super Bowl. You have to be good, but you have to be lucky too, and not have the season-ending injuries that they had. But the good news for them is they're done with the Bills. They don't have to play the Bills again unless they get to the Super Bowl. But I just think it's going to be really difficult for them, even to win the division now. They're tied with the Vikings, and the Packers are right there lurking. They do have the tie break on the Packers, but they've got to hold off the Vikings to get not only the number one seed, but to win the division. And the Eagles also are tied with the same record. So they're in a little bit of trouble, I think, but that offense can still score points. They're just going to have to outscore people, which is why he's so aggressive. He got some criticism for the onside kick, but I understand the onside kick. He doesn't trust his defense. The injuries that they've had, they can't stop a really good offense. And so I think that's going to be their problem. But we'll see what they can do. We'll see what Aaron Glenn can do.
All right, let's close out with Aggies in the NFL. Where do you want to start?
Yeah, well, let's start with number 3. We're going to go with Devon Achane. 12 carries, 41 yards, 70 catches, 35 yards. That's 19 touches for 76 yards. But the biggest play he made in the game against the Texans was he at the end of the first half, on an interception, tracked down the guy and tackled him short of the end zone. The Texans had to settle for a field goal. It was the best play of the game. Outstanding work by Devon Achane. None of us are surprised with what he's done. None of us are surprised with Edrin Cooper either. We got 1 A and 1 B here. Edrin Cooper probably going to be NFC Defensive Player of the Week. He's definitely a candidate. 5 tackles, a sack, 2 quarterback hits, 2 tackles for loss, a pass defense, an interception. Oh, by the way, he played special teams and had 2 special teams tackles. Just an outstanding performance. It's unfortunate he missed, 5 games, I think, 4 or 5 games, or he would be right in that conversation for Defensive Player of the Year. And then, like I said, 1A, 1B, however you want to list them. Mike Evans, of course, 9 catches, 159 yards, 2 touchdowns on 11 targets. We didn't think he'd get to 1,000 yards. Guess what? He needs to average 84 yards over the next 3 games to get there. He has 749 at this point with 3 games to play. Let's go, Mike. Get that 1,000 yards.
That is the great Charean Williams on the Boss Firearms Hotline. Charean, thank you very much. We'll talk to you very soon.
Thank you.
All right, Charean there, breaking it down as always. We appreciate her time. We'll hit a break here. We'll come back with a final segment here on TexAgs Live. Right now, a moment for Caldwell Country Chevrolet, Highway 21 in Caldwell online, CaldwellCountryChevrolet.com. Great selection of commercial vehicles, but also just a great selection of vehicles. When you are in the market, I know many during the holidays are, for a new vehicle, or if you're just thinking about it, you should check out the website, CaldwellCountryChevrolet.com. When you make the drive out to Caldwell, I think you're going to be impressed with the pricing, the customer service, and of course, the trade-in value that you'll get. And when you go there, just know this, the customer service doesn't end after day one. It's going to be throughout your entire process there at Caldwell Country Chevrolet. They've got the complimentary pickup and delivery for their service customers, and they have complimentary oil changes for the life of your vehicle as long as you own that vehicle from Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Highway 21 in Caldwell, online, CaldwellCountryChevrolet.com. Just don't go on Twitter and listen to drone talk. It'll scare you. TexAgs Live, that's what I was doing, and now I feel like moving. It's TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We're in the Rollo Insurance Studio. Closing minutes of the show. Talk a little Fratello's. I was actually on the thread on TexAgs.com. Great place, by the way. Delicious homemade Italian dishes made with love. And I'm looking at some of the pictures and some of the writing by the pictures. Oh, my gosh. Like breadsticks, homemade, dough fried and sprinkled with Parmesan and oregano, served with marinara or Alfredo sauce, chicken Parmesan smothered in marinara and mozzarella, served with a side of spaghetti. I'm just getting hungry listening to this. It's almost lunchtime. Fettuccine Alfredo made with their house-made fettuccine pasta and creamy Alfredo sauce. I just keep going. Lasagna, baked layers of homemade pasta. I want it all. This sounds so good. And yes, I even had more than one bite of what was the desserts we had yesterday? We had
like a banana pudding.
The banana pudding was really good. And then the bread pudding.
Bread pudding.
I had at least 2.5 bites of the bread pudding last night. Well, they have cheesy cheesecake at Fratello's. Check them out, 3901 South Texas Avenue, 979-260-6666, fratellocafe.com. All right, so here's the deal. I thought it was a good show today.
Yeah.
I thought the energy was good. A week from tomorrow, I'll be heading to Vegas for the bowl game. A lot of football still to talk about from an A&M perspective. We'll still have to talk about, obviously, the things that are happening on the portal, in the portal. We'll have Bronny on the program tomorrow. So still a lot to get into. And we really didn't get to break down the playoff games today. I feel like with Trey Wallace, I went down a certain path. I just kept on going deeper and deeper and getting his thoughts on that. So we'll have that to talk about tomorrow on the program as well, because we need to certainly get into these playoff games, because I am intrigued by it. And I might be wrong. I don't mind expanding right now. And I'm okay with being wrong. Everything else college football's done is an experiment, so why not keep experimenting with the playoffs? But that's going to do it here for TexAgs Live on a Tuesday. My thanks to all of our great guests today. Olin Buchanan, really solid go hour. Justin Lanham, Jamie Morrison. He was great.
Hey, fun way to end the show, David. We just got another Mike Elko tweet. The Johnny Manziel, Maybe some good news coming.
All right. Well, I'm going to go straight to TexAgs.com, go to the premium board, because I know Bronny's going to have some info for us all. Whatever that info is, mañana en el programa, we'll have it. All right. Thank you so much for watching and listening. We'll catch up with you mañana.